James Dean runs our stuff. Adam runs our stuff in Drift Masters. Like we try to work with top tier drivers, and we work with them to make improvements. We take input if they give it to us, and people will still be like, well, they give them special products. It's like, all right. A lot of times on your podcast, people say the reason that they want to go to FD is to see how they fare with really good drivers and really well-known drivers. This is an opportunity for people to do that. What I'm saying is that events like these can be like the shortcut to that, but it's all about fun. How great would it be to have a robot to take care of your daily tasks?
I don't know about that, man.
I don't know.
Imagine that thing just like looming over you while you're asleep, and it's
Dude, I love
like
the
your
memes.
alarm is like him just like kind of patting you on the chest.
It's time
like,
to wake up. I think good.
See how you doing the pressure. Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy.
Welcome back to the #1 Drift podcast on YouTube, presented by Injuku Racing. My name is Dawson, and today we have...
You go first.
Okay, I'm Chase from Chase Bays.
And I'm Brian from Chase Base.
Hell yeah. If you guys haven't seen the last one with Chase, you weren't here on the last one,
No,
sadly.
yeah.
But we got me this time. If you haven't seen that one, go watch that one too. But of course, before we get into it, look below the video. Make sure the subscribe button is not still red. If it is, go ahead and hit that and hit the bell notification while you're at it so you never miss an episode. Along with that, the hats that are on 144 Racing now, they are red, not this one, sorry. But if you want to go grab one of those, support the podcast. Link is always in the description for that, along with the new grip oil steering wheels. They're fully customizable, well, for the most part, between sweather, laid, all different colors. Suede and leather. I keep trying to say it together.
I kind of like that though.
I know, that's pretty cool.
Sweater.
I got a sweater steering wheel.
But yeah. If you want one of those, go check them out. Link is in the description for that as well. Helps keep the lights on, keep these things going, and bring you guys some of the best interviews possible. And then on top of that, kind of what we're going to talk about today for the most part, Chase Bay's Customer Appreciation Event. If you haven't got your tickets for that yet, go ahead and do that. I will leave the link to that in the description also. And I'm sure we'll get into more details on that as we go through this one. But yeah, last one, Valino, 35% off sale. Go check that out. Tires. Grab your tires.
You said Valino?
Yeah.
I love Valinos.
Valinos are
That's the tires
freaking
that I
amazing.
run.
I just bought some new 08Cs for the front.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, dude, 08Cs are honestly, I mean, that is the only tire that I want to run, because when you drift a lot, you change tires a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm like adding to your ad, but I don't even, I mean, I know Mike, like we work with them, but yeah, it's, dude, such an incredible tire.
Absolutely. Have you tried the Ebisus yet?
The what?
The
No.
Ebisus?
No, I stick to the 08C and 08R.
Okay.
08R, is that right? The
Yes.
200A, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 08C mainly for like just the fun days, and then if I know I'm driving with like really fast cars, I'll do the 08R.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, the Ibisu, that's a 300 or a 340A.
Yeah.
360A.
They're, I think 340. I could be wrong on that, actually. I don't know. But
yeah, I stick to the 08.
they were pretty good. Lasted.
They're all
pretty good amount.
pretty incredible. The 08C is it's really just a 300A because of the thickness, but it's about the same stickiness as an 08R. It's crazy how much grip my car has with those.
Hell yeah.
Big
I'll have
fan.
to try those eventually.
Yeah.
This is a great advertisement.
I mean, really.
Right.
Well, dude, I've tried.
Wasn't even really supposed
Yeah.
to be. I was just going to mention it for them.
I mean, I ran them in Japan when I was out there, and I'm like, all right, I got to only run these tires, because
Yeah.
you as you drive, you want predictability. And when you change tires every time, I mean, even if your alignment and all that's the same, you're like, ugh, I'm always adapting to a new tire. And so, yeah, dude, I love
So true. If you want, kind of give an introduction on who you guys are for anyone out there that doesn't know. We'll say you
Yeah,
go
so I'm Brian Leonard. Originally, I come from a big road race background. I ran some IMSA Sports Car Challenge, Pirelli World Challenge, WRL, a bunch of endurance racing stuff, and had my own shop. I was traveling a lot doing driver coaching for gentlemen drivers and stuff like that. Chase and I, been friends for a very long time. So then we just got to talking and kept talking. I came on to help with some builds and stuff, and things escalated. I quit everything, came here, and I'm the VP now. And that's Chase.
Crazy.
Yeah. He's vice president now. But yeah, it was kind of crazy because we've been friends for over a decade, and it's just.
I was wondering about that. How y'all initially met
He
each
was
other.
the best man in my wedding.
No shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I'll probably
Okay.
be
It was
the
a great
best
wedding,
man in
too.
yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell
And
yeah.
well, I don't know if this is on film. My mom may make my brother be my best man. Yeah.
okay.
I'm just kidding. Brett,
I don't
you're my
have a
best
brother.
man. I'm your brother.
True.
So is Blake.
Right. So then I'm going to be your best man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can argue about this later.
Okay.
Unless you want to hash it out now. This seems like a great platform.
I think it is.
Okay, cool.
Perfect moment. Let's go for it.
Yeah. My introduction is I'm Chase. I own Chase Bays, and we've been in business for 17 years. We've been through our crazy experience, highs and lows, and it's been a wild ride. And here we are still after all this time. And it's great to have people like Brian. He's our vice president now, and in the early days, everything kind of was on my shoulders, and I had people, I had employees to do things, but in terms of like the more executive approach and all like the decision making and stuff was all on me, and that gets tough after 14, 15 years. It's very easy
weighs
to
on
get
you.
it's very easy to get burnt out, and we grew a lot. I mean, we went, we doubled every year, and still it all was on me. And then he came through and on builds, like we just, I wanted to get all the builds done. We have like the FDRX7 and the E36 were your first projects. And he was getting tired of what he was doing. I mean, even though you were making great money, he was doing like Ferrari Challenge and Porsche Sprint Challenge and all that.
SRO and
cool. Basically maintaining race cars, and that's profitable. But he's, like you said, it kind of gets boring after a while. And so he came over and started doing some build stuff. Wandered over to operations, and just would talk to him, and they're like, hey, we're doing this, this, and this, and he offered a solution, and then the guys told me, they're like, hey, he came over and solved that problem.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know, it was weird. It was like 2 or 3 months. We just kind of talked about it here and there, and I'm like, dude, just come on over. If you're bored over there, like shut your business down, throw it all away. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 or 3 years now.
It's been about 2 full years, and for me, I was traveling a lot, and then I was getting kind of torn because I'd about coached myself out of racing. So I'm doing so much driver coaching, and I'm like, man. And for the record, like I loved the guys that I was working with. I loved the people that I was coaching with. There was one team, Throttle Therapy Motorsports, that was very hard to walk away from them. They're like literally the coolest people on the entire planet, and that was like I felt like I was breaking a family up when I quit. Yeah, it was tough.
Now you know how your dad felt.
Yeah. How did I break that family up? Should we have that conversation?
No, your dad broke up your family.
Oh, okay. So
shit.
So
Dude,
This would be the whole podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah,
dude, it's like my job, I guess, to derail this whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
But yeah, I was traveling a lot. I saw a lot of opportunity here, and I really enjoyed being on a team. And then as we just talked more and more, I was like, man, I feel like I have some things to offer this place. I want to try that. And then, just coaching and stuff, being gone nonstop. I mean, it was like every single Thursday.
Was it 42 weekends a year?
Yeah, it was like around 35 to 42 weekends a year, depending. And it was just, and then I had my business here, and then I was also doing builds with him and doing some of that stuff and coaching and racing. And I was like, dude, no one is getting 100% of what I could offer because there's not enough time, which is super flattering. It was great, but I was like, I got to back away from some of this stuff. And I slowly started, everyone understood, all the people that I raced and coached with and stuff, they totally understood. And literally the best decision I could have made, because we have a ton of fun, and I feel like we're actually making a pretty good impact here. And it's a very rare opportunity. We talk about it all the time. It's just a super rare opportunity to have like a group of friends out here where we're cutting up, we're having a good time, we're being serious though. We've got meetings nonstop all throughout the day, so we get serious, then we fly out somewhere, get in a rental car, drive it through the grass, and then
as long as you got the insurance, who cares?
That Kia Forte is or whatever.
We'll see. They hit bushes
Those cars
pretty
are
well.
junk straight off the line anyways.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, we just make them better somehow.
Who is it that says that's the best car to have as a rental car? That's like a brand new rental car is.
Probably James Dean.
Yeah, something like that. Where you just go and just see what they can do. But no, it's been awesome, man. I've been super blessed. I tell them I wake up every day and I'm like super stoked to come to work, and man, it's been awesome.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. It's a very unique dynamic y'all have as far as like owning a business and like you just shit fire on each other all the time.
Yeah,
it
dude.
seems.
That's how it should be.
Well, it's because he
Like
sucks.
even before
and,
the podcast is just wailing on each other.
well, he's kind of an asshole.
Fuck that guy.
It's funny though, because I mean, it's weird to say about yourself, but it's like, but I'm a good guy, man. I mean, come on.
We take it too far sometimes.
yeah.
Like we'll be like coming back from lunch, like this kind of weird because like we spend every moment, we work out every morning together, we work all day together, we go to lunch together, then we go home, we start talking about business and stuff until I pass out or something like that, and then but it is crazy, but it's funny because, like I said, it's such a good opportunity because it's very rare that you get to do something like this with your friends, but we literally have the best time. We cut up, we bullshit, and then we go right to work. We put our heads down and we will grind. I mean, we work really, really hard, but we also enjoy kind of being stupid, Like, I got some videos.
You need that though.
Yeah,
There's gotta be
dude.
some
Well, it's rare that you
character
find
to it.
somebody. We do have a good working dynamic, and we were friends for a decade before that. But it is interesting, like when you can. We'll be in the middle of like a really, serious, say like budgeting or something, business related. Yeah. And then I'll just like make a joke. And then we'll joke for like 10, 15 seconds and then jump right back into it.
And no one says anything. It's not.
But it's tough because before I would do that, I'm like super scatterbrained. It's like I have to. Like obviously I've owned a business for a long time and so I've been serious a lot. But it's almost like after, I don't know, 30 minutes of being serious, it's like I have to break away from it to just know that I'm still just to know that I'm still alive, And then most people when you do that, they're like, wait, I thought we were being goofy. I can't keep up. And so I think that's a lot of the dynamic is just that we can switch back and forth from
on
being
and off,
goofy.
dude.
Yeah.
It's good
That's
balance.
good though. I assume that it helps on the business end, like working with other companies and stuff too. Just having that charismatic. What is that? How you say it?
Yeah, charismatic and personable, I guess you say.
People have noticed a difference too. I mean, we've got more than just us two, of course, here too. I mean, like Christian is our lead tech on like tech support, technical sales. Dude, every event we go to, we get a compliment on him because he's so dang good at customer service. Like, I have full faith that he's going to solve the problem and he'll never be snarky towards.
That's got to be so relieving.
It is. That's been one of the harder things, and we've got a great ops team. Great marketing team like Will, the GLTC. But people have noticed a difference too in just how because the products are great. It's just that like if stuff had been back ordered or whatever, like because it was all just on me. Yeah. And people have been like, dude, y'all ship so quickly, and this stuff still goes back ordered. Of course, happens to everybody.
Absolutely.
But yeah, people have noticed like a difference in how the company runs because it's not just on me. Because at a certain point, like one person couldn't handle so much, and so or one person can only handle so much.
Yeah.
Right.
And so just being able to like split the tasks and have him here has been cool.
Yeah, everything works more efficient that way.
Yeah.
And we went racing this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went racing this year. It was
I don't know how much your audience knows about racing. It's mostly just drifting.
Mostly drifting. I've talked a little bit about road stuff, but not too much. I wrote some of that stuff down so we can get into that. But,
okay. Yeah. Well,
Maybe I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah, we can get into it later. Then, we kind of just took the ship and started. This is what
No,
happens.
this is cool.
We just kind of go.
This is exactly what this is.
It's called the weave. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the weave.
We'll bring it back eventually, but it is.
I don't think we will,
Yeah.
but maybe we will.
Well, how about first, before we get into that, let's tackle the event.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess if you could explain what is the Chase Bay's Customer Appreciation Event and why should someone come?
Sure. So when I went to Japan, I went to Vertex Customer Appreciation and Car Modify Wonder Customer Appreciation, and it's a well-known thing that they do over in Japan. A lot of the events are just customer appreciation, like the HKS days, the Grady Trust days.
Like they're all branded that way?
Yeah, well, not all of them, but they do that very commonly. Where a company like HKS or Vertex or any of them, they just throw events, and then it's just kind of what they title it. And, when I went over there, just about every event that I drove was a customer appreciation. So I fly to Japan, go to Tokyo Auto Salon, and went in my S15 to Mobara Circuit. And then I'm at their driver's meeting, and I'm like the only white dude there, besides Noriaro, Alexi. And I like get next to him, and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. But
stick together.
Yeah, let's stick together. And he ditched me. But it was crazy because, and this has nothing to do with the event, but just to give some background, like the founding fathers of drifting were literally holding the drivers meeting. Like,
oh, dude, that's cool.
yeah, like drift. I mean, like Urus, Drift Monkey, Knob, like, dude, all those dudes. I'm like, holy shit. And it's just, it's just normal. And
What
it's
did
weird
they say?
like,
I couldn't even tell.
yeah,
Just too overwhelmed.
I know.
But I love the experience.
Yeah. But, well, most drivers' meetings are the same, so I got to feel for it.
True.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that kind of inspired me, to try to do a customer appreciation event. And, of course you pay. It's not like it's free or anything. Like you pay, but it's just, it's cool because it gets back to the roots of drifting or what you're doing, A lot of times, Gridlife is incredible. We get to drive amazing tracks, but our sessions are 20 minutes, so we don't get a ton of seat time. And typically, they're going to push drifting first, so if you have some guy go off, what I'm saying is they don't extend. Like if you get 20 minutes, that's all you get. You get 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're not. It's not like laps or amount of like. It's just that's the session. And so you'll go all the way to Connecticut from Alabama, and then you do 3 20-minute sessions at Lime Rock, and it just leaves you wanting more, And like again, I'm not like we love Gridlife, and I'm not hating on that because the opportunity alone to drive Lime Rock for even just 15 to 20 laps.
Absolutely.
And then you've got so many guys who are doing Formula Drift, or they're doing competing, or people who are just like Adam, who are driving, or flying all over the world to do like Drift Masters and FD and other people who are doing. Basically, it's gotten very serious, and it's hard to find somewhere that has a ton of seat time, and it's kind of like what we've been calling like the backyard barbecue of drifting and track or road racing. To where it's just about the driving, because there's a lot of track days and stuff like that go on, but there won't be there's not a ton of media, or there's not a lot of like concentration of really good drivers, right? So what we wanted to do was take an incredible track like Polecat, mix drifting and road racing a little bit, or time attack, or basically track day type stuff.
You need grip stuff.
Yeah, grip stuff. So have sessions for both, and have so much seat time that you can't even bring enough tires. So you can drive an incredible track and have, like basically well-known drivers that come to the event. So we've got like Hurt, Jimmy Oaks, we've got all of Front Street, we've got
all the guys you watch on YouTube.
Yeah, all the YouTube guys. We've got a couple people that are coming that we're not announcing, but it's going to be great.
Nice.
It's going to be huge. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
You said it to him like he doesn't even know.
Well, this sounds like an awesome
like,
event.
You're not going to
Dude,
believe
honestly,
this.
Can I come?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, that'll be cool.
I'm looking up our driver's list just to run.
No, you're not.
through
You're
it.
checking texts.
I am. This isn't good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drift HQ guys are coming. Grip Royal sponsored
Nice.
it. I don't know where our list is. I won't. We can just put the list up or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a lot of incredible drivers, and a lot of basically the vision is also to have every single car in the paddock have a chase-based product.
Before we get into the rest of that conversation, I wanted to drop in and let you guys know that the new Grassroots Hero hats are on the 144 Racing's website. Nice surf cap with the rope on the front. They're like a almost dry fit material, so they're really comfortable, especially wearing them all day at the track and stuff. So if you're interested, grab one of those off the website. Grab a shirt as well if you haven't already. But I'm not going to hold up any more of your time. If you want to grab some, they are on 144 Racing. Go check them out in the description. Other than that, let's get back to the podcast.
Or one or more. Yeah. And it's surprisingly, it has not been hard to do, which is something we're very proud of.
Yeah.
The only cars that really didn't have a product were ones that just didn't really apply. Like for the track stuff, there's a couple new Civics Type R, like new Civic Type R's,
Oh, okay.
and a Porsche GT3 911. I mean GT3 RS.
So GT3R. It's I think he's still coming. It's a 991.2 GT3R. So
it's not. I mean, it's not really a product. It's perfect from the factory.
Right.
We're not
yeah,
really-
Manti Racing built it. So
Yeah. So basically, that's the vision, is that you've got a lot of seat time, an incredible track. It's incredible media. We have great media coming there. I don't know what to call it, like celebrity, well-known drivers, YouTubers, like people who are well-known. And I know something that, I know I'm building the weave right now, but a lot of times on your podcast, people say the reason that they want to go to FD is to see how they fare with really good drivers and really well-known drivers.
Yep.
And I feel like this could be, like, this is an opportunity for people to do that. And there is a level of expectation. Like the car has to be kind of nice, you know, especially for
Absolutely,
a first annual
yeah.
event. But if you think that you're going for Formula Drift, then the car has to be kind of high-end and legitimate anyways. So what I'm saying is that events like these can be like the shortcut to that, but it's all about fun. You know, so you're not competing against one another. You're driving together.
Yeah, it's like not the same pressure.
Yeah, and then there's insane amounts of seat time. And then the last one is, besides like the grassroots nature, but professional drivers, besides like the high quality kind of Japanese culture, American culture kind of mixing, there's also just mixing grip / road racing and drifting. Something that Gridlife does very well is drift versus grip, which is where they have like a 20 to 40 minute session where drift cars and time attack cars are out on track at the same time.
Yeah, the taxi session.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So have you ever been out on track during one of those?
Oh, yeah.
It is one of the most incredible experiences
With a
ever.
car that was not working properly, too.
Oh,
it was
man.
terrifying.
Was it your
Where
car?
was it at?
It was in South Carolina.
Oh,
okay.
This
Yeah,
year?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you were still sorting out the bugs.
That was the only one that I actually drove.
Okay.
I was at several
Yeah,
Gridlife,
I thought I saw you out there.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't.
We were
stop
doing
by.
it.
My car was like literally not making boost. I mean, it maybe made 120 horsepower. It
Oh
was
man,
insane.
We get
been
it,
there
dude.
before.
Yeah, we fought. yeah.
How about all year?
Watch our Road to GLTC series. We fought the car. all
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of it. But yeah, well then you know it's hard to explain, but it's one of the most incredible experiences ever when if you do have a drift car that works and you come up on a fit and you see that there's 5 people in there and you pull up next to them and then floor it and clutch kick next to them and like transition and drift in front of them and then they'll pull up on you, you know, because everybody out there typically
down in
knows
the
what
pocket.
they're doing. Like they don't just let anybody out on track. Like we all know the drill.
Yeah.
It's like you're not running 10/10ths. You're basically trying to give passengers an incredible experience.
Yeah.
You know, find the line, like drift in front of the track cars. The track cars will come up on you. It's just chaos, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to integrate that. So we of course we work with Gridlife, but we asked their permission to basically steal their idea. And they're like, yeah, just make it presented by Gridlife, and you know we're cool. So
Okay, so I was going to ask about that, how Gridlife fits into it, because I know it was like Grid is ran by Gridlife or something is what I heard. Or I don't know how.
it would be cool if we could do that. They're so busy though. It started
Yeah.
out as we partner with Gridlife, and like we just we sponsor and we show up to everyone. We run.
Yeah.
We're probably more plugged in than any company. Where I run time attack in the non-drift events. I drift, and then we're racing like a Chase Bay's ZN6 with a K24 that he drives. So we're racing, we're time attacking, we're drifting, and we're activating as a partner in the series. But Gridlife's just awesome. They're just really good, like kind of like connecting grassroots and high-end motorsports in a good way. But so we work with them, and we wanted to steal their idea of the drift taxi.
Okay, yeah.
And so we
just
just
to keep that style of the way the Grid is
yeah,
run.
well, because we think
I get that.
and just to go back to the PCAT event, I've been to a lot of events. You've been to a lot of events, and there's stuff that we like and dislike about a lot of them. And I wanted to take all my favorite aspects of every event and try to put it into one weekend.
That's a big one though. The grip and drift taxi stuff is. We experimented with our EK last year, strapping GoPros to it and like running the drift sessions to try to get some shots of some of the guys that we sponsor and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well.
So
in
much
fact,
fun.
we did it at Final Bout as
Yeah,
well.
it's just so much
Nice.
fun, man.
Yeah. So and then once we were doing that, it was we started making runs, and it's like 1 second you've got Adam or Rich or whoever the guys are in front of you. And then T-Pain goes by you, and then, Hurts, I'm in between T-Pain and Hurt in a little Civic, and it's just total chaos, And
Well, and it's cool too because everybody is such a good driver that like I remember at Lime Rock last year you went in and then a drift car like passed you midway,
Yeah.
and then he like kind of went in behind. Like it's just
yeah. And
I don't know what it was, but it's just there's something we wanted that to be a part of our event because it's just there's something incredible about it.
Yeah.
And also the another thing about this event is that we wanted to we've got really good grip like road race guys that are coming, time attack people. And we can have a conversation later about like the differences and the massive amounts of different series in road racing. Whereas drifting is just like a handful of series, and then you're like, good, I got it all.
Yeah.
But basically, we'll just call it grip or time attack from here on out. So we got a lot of good grip guys and a lot of good drift guys, and a lot of them are becoming curious about what's happening over there, right, on the other end.
Like I was.
Absolutely,
you were.
especially after seeing Nate and Forsberg and all these other guys kind of doing the Rush series stuff and
Yeah.
getting a taste of it on the internet.
Yep.
People are definitely getting a little more intrigued by
One,
it.
it's both parties, right? So all the guys I race with and have raced with, they're interested in drifting. I'm like, man, that'd be so
so
sick.
fun.
And yeah, because it's like you get so used to your discipline that you don't even think about the other one. You know, I'm a driver, so I want to do everything. I want to rally. I want a dirt track.
Right.
I want a circle track. I want a road race. I want to drift. But, you know, a lot of these guys, it's weird. It's almost like they don't even know that they could get into it, and they just don't know where to go, you know, in both directions, right? Because I started drifting like last year, and which I don't know if we want to get into
this
that right
year.
now. Was it this year?
Yeah.
Oh, I forget. It was this year.
It's been a long year.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. So I started this year, and we went to Mid Pond because we were going to final bout in
Summit Point?
no, it's Houston.
Houston. Oh,
Yeah. So it was the
First final bout.
First final bout, and he's like, "Yeah, you can go drive the Corvette and all this stuff." I was like, "Dude, I've never like before I go."
We quickly built a ratty little Corvette
Yeah.
C6, just to test our products and stuff.
Yeah.
Ended up being a like.
Undeveloping. So we were developing new parts for. We released a few for the C6, and we've got more in the pipeline. But yeah, that was our.
Dude, that car is funny. It was a flood car, like it was in a river.
No shit.
Yeah, and then we
It was not
What?
supposed to work, man.
dude, and it didn't for long, but
That's true. It blew up.
it was in a river, and then we got it for pretty cheap, like basically what a shell costs. And it had an LS2 in it. It was a 06, so it's an LS2 model. And then, you know, we really needed to develop products for that, you know, obviously very
Yeah,
popular
yeah.
platform now, not just for drifting, but for road racing too. And so we developed some stuff, and then we got it running. And we're like, well, we'll just do, you know, some laps just to have kind of like the demo car and for prep for marketing material and stuff. It's like, well, we got to go tune it. So, dude, we tuned it. Made what, 450 horsepower?
It made before we tuned it. It did end up making 440 to the wheels. But before we tuned it, remember
We street tuned it.
we did like a street tune, but there was something wrong with it.
Math.
Yeah, the math was failed on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And we didn't know it at the time. It had been so many years since I dyno tuned cars. I was just like, I kept adding fuel above, you know, 7,500 or 75,000 hertz or whatever it was. And we didn't really make any progress. So, but it seemed to, we put a wideband in the car, and we went to Mid Pond to try to
Speed Force. Yeah,
Yeah.
I missed. Yeah, because that's kind of why it blew up, I guess.
Yes, well,
It's just why. I mean, I guess we're in the weeds a little bit, but basically, we didn't know we were buying an LS2 that was like built with a cam,
Oh.
and it made like crazy good
Yeah.
power on a very
Yeah.
conservative tune. And then we're like, dude, this thing fucking rips.
for about one event.
Well, through all of Summit Point,
That's
we
true.
did Final Bout Summit Point. It was fast as shit because I was driving my JZX100 at the time, and then he's like, you know, I wanted him to be in like an underpowered car because we did seat swap, right? Because I've done track days and stuff, but
Yeah.
he's been coaching me on how to be a better track driver, and I've been coaching him on how to be a good drift driver.
Yeah.
So I started out like, all right, we're gonna do Mid Pond, and dude, he was such he was doing full
natural,
course, no
yeah.
problem. But there's still there's so much to teach. Even if you're linking the course, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
you've got all the dynamics. But yeah, first lap, you know, no handbrake and just, you know, learning when to clutch and
At Mid Pond, no handbrake too.
no
on your
handbrake.
first lap?
Well, that's what I wanted to
Crazy.
teach him.
I don't
is,
think
you
I
know,
used the handbrake at all the first day.
No, and I mean,
Damn,
dude,
Yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, no handbrake life." Like the car will be better planted. Like the handbrake can give car platform
Yeah.
and grip and all that when you need it. But whatever. I'm sure that's a very
Dude,
dead topic.
we could.
Yeah. We don't have to
Internet
get
will
into it.
chew us up
but,
too. I'm
But
sure.
he was. I mean, your transitions will be slower, and you'll have to let off sooner. But he was drifting like full course Mid Pond with no handbrake, and then I wanted to do feint entries like clutch kick entries with no handbrake and all that. And then we started introducing handbrake and stuff. But yeah, he's like kind of new to drifting, and in a 450 horsepower like C6 with
That's pretty nuts for a first drift car.
But I mean, to be fair, it's like, so when I first was racing, I mean, I ran these GTU Corvettes, so we had, depending on trim, it was like 750 to 800 wheel horsepower, sequential box, big arrow. They were C6, you know.
what he's saying is it's slow to him.
Yeah, to me, it's not fast at all. I mean, our GLTC car is the second slowest car I've ever raced in my life. So
200, it's like
Yeah.
a power weight series,
it's like
but like
212 or
212.
something to the wheel. So, which, Spec Miata would be the slowest, but so to me it didn't have too much power. It wasn't, and I'm so used to how a Corvette feels. So once we were aligning it and whatnot,
I gave the car a ton of grip.
I liked
It has like FD Pro Spec grip, because I felt like if you have the power, then you need the grip. Because what happens, and by the way, we put him in like a stock S300 and he did full course mid-pond. So it wasn't like the dynamic wasn't there, because some people learn to drift in too high powered cars and they miss out on a lot of like steering dynamic and like faint entry type stuff where they can basically momentum drift the car, and it's all like
for the record,
power
I'm
on.
not good. I'm not like, it's making me sound like I'm some badass that went.
So I just want to throw that out.
Yeah,
there,
I mean, I connected the course, but I can see I don't know anything about drifting, right? So I say I don't. Now I do. But when we first went to the first first final bout in Texas, which not this year but last year, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds or something like that, because how it all works. I was not aware of that. I never watched Drift Masters or Formula D. I literally was so far outside of it that the whole style aspect of it, the whole all those things were completely, for lack of better words, Japanese to me. But I didn't know, and now I can kind of see. All right, well, I'm not good on it. Like my biggest weakness is like the entry stuff, hauling ass down a straightaway, then throwing it in. I haven't gotten comfortable with that. So just for the record, I'm not good, but the cars blew up, which, so I can't.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, I don't even know where we began, but it was fun to talk about for a minute. But it was just interesting because the C6 Corvette was like completely just, whatever, we'll just throw it together. And it made like really good, strong power. And when I drove it, I'm like, damn. Like, this thing rips, dude.
The first time it was
Corvettes
tuned,
just work, man.
Yeah, well, it was tuned before Summit Point. Because before that, we couldn't.
That's what I'm saying. Is like when I drove, because I drove it.
Went to Mid-Pond once.
Yeah. Well, I drove it at Mid-Pond. We can change the subject, but I drove it at Mid-Pond and I realized that like the toe out had like undone itself for obvious reasons. But it had, because I like to drive cars with a shitload of toe out in the front, like 7 millimeters toe out per side. Makes the car very like twitchy and very
snappy.
Good. Snappy, yeah. Good for
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was for a trip to the pond.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I drove it at Trip to the Pond, and then I'm like, dude, this car steers like shit, because it had zero towed out, and so I would like throw the wheel, and I'm like, like nothing happened.
It just sits there, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, he had adapted to that, and I'm like, man, I got to drive, because I'm the same way with track stuff too, because I'll go adapt to a car, and then he'll drive it, and I'm like, dude, this is trash. When you hit the brakes, the back end does this. I'm like,
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah, well, you don't know what you don't know, and that's why it's been really good, because when I first started, I thought to myself, okay, like I've coached as like a job, for like that was a profession for me.
Yeah.
I said, what type of client can help me do my job the best? What questions would they ask? How would they behave? All that. So when we first went into it, I basically was pretending like this was a road race situation in coaching, that I needed to figure out how to be the best student I could be to extract the most I could from someone who was not a student in drifting. You know what I mean? And that's how we did it. Was just, hey, what should I do about this? I asked him, and I love data in race cars, and I took it way too far, but I was like, should we put steering angle sensor here? Should we put this here and there so I can see your throttle position, how much brake pressure you got? And all, he's like, dude, well, hold it up. Slow down,
Back it up. Drifting ain't that important.
Yeah, so it's like, but to me, my brain it's kind of nice to back away from some of that to where it's not so.
You have so much second nature built up.
Yeah, where it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just like dancing, I guess you could say. It's just kind of like you feel it in it.
Yeah.
You're never gonna dance again.
I probably not. Was it guilty feelings?
What was the one thing that kind of made it click for you? That it like actually made it click? What was the one thing that actually made it click for you when you finally figured it out?
I think mid-pond day one, he let me just do one turn at a time. And I think we did that for like one lap actually. And then he said, go ahead and connect these two, right? And he's like, because one thing I was doing, I'm used to hands-on, like driving a car on entry.
Yeah, in track environments, you don't let go of the wheel.
Yeah, like it's like
Like, you know, when you let the wheel go and drifting, like that's a
Right.
very common thing.
Yeah.
And that's normal to us. But when you're tracking, and it's funny too, because at Mid-Ohio, when I was time attacking,
Yeah.
I went over China Beach and the car got loose and I let the wheel go.
Well, turn one.
And then it was a good drift, but it was a very slow turn.
On video, we have them going.
So it's like the opposite problems, yeah.
Which I can jump into that later, but one thing that was cool about him grip driving is having the car control skill and not being afraid when a car steps out. So Mid-Ohio on turn one, he overdrives the entry a little bit. He almost got the car to apex, but the car snapped away and just stayed sideways all the way through the turn. But he
stayed in it.
Never checked up. And I was like, you know how hard that moment for most guys is like oh shit, and they think about it for the next 2 turns. They screw that lap up, and it's like they can't get back to it. So
he's saying that it takes like years for track guys to be able to go, I'll just steer out of it. Or even when you have too much slip angle,
right,
like drift basically, I just let out like 2 millimeters and I'm like,
and
okay, the car's back.
Yeah. Get
But
it
that's
back
normal.
So funny, dude.
It's cool. I mean, it's like it's normal
I've
for
always
us.
wondered. So, like, would you say that a drifter has almost a driver skill advantage to, say, a newbie road race guy?
Yes.
Or whatever.
I think from a car control skill standpoint, absolutely. I think that, and it depends on the tier. So if you're just doing track days and you're just doing like drift having fun days, I think the drifter has the advantage a bit because of the car control skills. And one problem I'll see is they will overdrive. Like, no offense, but like you overdrove the turn a little bit. And I mean, you're not losing 2 seconds in that turn, but you're losing some time, right?
Yeah.
So I would say they have the advantages there. So I really believe if a lot of drift guys, because we're starting to see this where they're, like you said,
And that's how this
everyone's
whole like weave started.
That's what provokes the question.
Yeah,
for
they're
me,
all
'cause-
like migrating towards the opposing thing, and I think that the drift drivers definitely would have an advantage, but it's about honing it, right? So a lot of times your fastest lap, you'll go off track and go, damn, I sucked. And you're like, no, that was your fastest lap.
I've seen that a million times.
And you're just like, so you gotta, your brain, unfortunately, where the drift driver, I think, will have to kind of recalibrate a bit is your brain gives you rewards for like a lot of lateral G accel changes. So if you feel like your car's just been out of shape, you're like, damn, I was on the edge. Like, no, you weren't. Like, you were slowing the car down,
see what
right?
you mean, yeah.
So it's kind of right there on mid to exit of the turn is where the car will have like a good amount of slip angle, but it's just kind of smooth and then back. So overdriving the entry, you don't want to overdrive the entry. You want to get the car to apex, and then at apex, let the car take that set and kind of, then it'll kind of slide a little bit. But yeah,
let me get a question. So for someone ignorant like me with road racing,
sure.
What is the true definition of apex? Like, what are you actually saying?
So think about it like this. If you're going to draw a turn, what is the fastest line through that turn, right? Okay. So I'm trying to think of how to like draw this out for the camera, but there's
there's a whole white
literally just
that's a lot of effort. So so imagine
do it in post.
I'm trying to think of what's a track.
Literally, could you add it in post? Because he could.
I mean, yeah, he could probably add it right here or something, or right in between y'all.
Yeah. So, but it's pretty simple though. So you go from you're going to begin on a left-hander, right? So I'm trying to think, what's a track that almost all your audience would be familiar with? Like, even if it's a drift track, mid-pond?
Let's do. Let me think.
And a track
Probably.
that I know.
I mean, mid-pond's a fairly decent one, yeah.
What's like the most popular Formula Drift road course? Because I don't want to do the ovals. St. Louis changes all the
Utah?
time. What's that?
Utah
Motorsports Campus?
I don't even know.
I mean, people
Utah.
just love that track.
Yeah, well, take
the
Utah.
simplest one, probably.
Say the front straightaway of Utah Motorsports Campus. You go into that left-hander, it's turn one.
Is
Or
that the fastest one where they drift into?
I don't know where they drift. I just know the racetrack. So let's go to mid-pond. Let's go to mid-pond. Okay. You're coming down the back straightaway of mid-pond. Assume that the big bump is not there, right? Smooth track. You're going to go into a left-hander. So getting to the apex would be, when should I turn in to fastest get through this turn, where the apex is the point at which the car changes direction. So you turn into the left, and it's like call it a clipping point. You clip that, and then the car starts to move back to the outside. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So depending on
Would
where
it also be like the closest? Another explanation is the closest that you get to the inside of the turn.
Well, yeah, so it's the closest you get to the inside of the turn, but there's one place for it, right?
Right.
Because there's the fastest way through. So imagine like this microphone is like a turn, right? That would be like a double apex where you're coming. You could probably diamond it off, depending on, that's a whole other conversation, but depending on the car.
Also,
how
when you
the
say
car's
diamond
driving.
off, I misunderstood that for half the day at Mid-Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
true.
Please explain that.
I keep telling him
Yeah, I
to
was about to say,
diamond it.
that's going to fly
diamond.
right over my head, too.
When he
so.
said diamond, I thought it meant that. So I was going like off apex and back on. I'm like, dude, my car is so unsettled. And he's like, just diamond it off. I'm like, I did.
So, well, that's a whole nother thing too. But basically,
Anyways.
imagine this is just a turn, right? So you're coming in this direction right here. The apex is where you clip and then start back to the outside.
I think clipping
Yeah.
point's a good one for
Yeah, I think
drifters.
clipping point would be understandable for your guys, but it's the fastest way through the turn. So think about it like this: if you're 2 or 3 feet off of the apex, then the exit, you're in the grass, right? So like
Correct,
that trajectory.
yeah.
Now think about the direction your car is pointed. The reason they talk about hitting apexes so much in like road racing and even getting kind of to the inside of some of them is because you run out of room. So a lot of guys a lot of road race guys, and I think that some drift guys may have this problem, is if they don't carry enough speed through a turn, they'll unwind the wheel and drive it to the outside of the turn, where really if you're carrying enough speed at mid, which is middle of the turn, so I'll say like entry, mid, exit, right? If you're carrying enough speed at mid, then your car winds up all the way on the rumble strips of whatever on the outside of the turn because you're rolling that much speed. You're not going to drive. If you can drive your car out there, you're going too slow. Doesn't matter what car you're in. If you can drive it out there, you're going too slow, and you didn't carry enough speed through the turn.
And let me say this
so
too.
cool, though.
Dude, it's so much fun. People keep asking me, they're like, are you having more fun drifting or like time attacking? And I'm like, I don't know, man. They're both like equally fun to me. It's so much fun. But on the drifting stuff that we were talking about before, as a drifter who got into time attack, and I would love to do like GLTC or like open wheel racing.
Like door-to-door race.
Yeah, door-to-door. Because that's like the equivalent of like tandem, right? Is what, like times 10 and for like 20 to 30 plus minutes. Sometimes 24 hours. Actually, we should talk about that.
I was thinking about that on the way up here. Like we talk about how kind of scary, or I guess not we, but spectators talk about how scary drifting is. But dude, you look at the road race guys, and there's 20 cars
60.
inches away from each other going around a 90, and you're like,
Dude.
there's no fucking way.
We should send them some of the good clips for just some of your reels and stuff that you make.
Yeah.
Dude, we have some incredible clips. Like that, dude, that one on our last road to GLTC, you just casually pass on the outside. Like he exceeds track limits. It's a good turn.
I didn't exceed track limits. Gridlife, I did not exceed track limits.
It was within track limits.
I dropped, so Kyle, who's an awesome competitor, we became really good friends with him. We went through turn one. He loosened up a little bit, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, he's loose, and I got a really good run here. We had tons of problems. Like, I was missing 4 and 5 gears per lap. I couldn't get into gear. I was having a real tough time. But I saw an opportunity. I rolled a ton of speed through turn one on the exit, and then he kind of left a small lane, but not really. So I just dropped 2 off in the grass and just drove straight off the track and then came back on. And he gave me room after that. But I drove on the outside of that. Was a fun pass.
Dude, it is awesome, though. Like, GLTC is getting so popular because if you are at Gridlife, when you watch time attack, it's just like one car at a time kind of thing. I mean, there's like multiple cars, but they have distance. And drifting, when you see 3 cars tandeming, you're like, ooh. And then when road to GLTC, when they're all like stacked up, and then like
60 cars on a track, 40
to
cars
60
on a
cars,
insane, man.
it's fucking
awesome. And that's the thing is, like you said, like the dangerous.
That's what's making drifters interested in it.
the danger.
It's because a lot of people don't even know the difference. They're
Right.
like, so y'all still doing time attack? It's like, no, we're not doing time attack. That's like you're racing the clock. Like, we're doing wheel-to-wheel racing. And they're like, oh, that's why I like it.
Yeah, the danger side of things, like you said, was, I thought from what I've gathered, I was like, man, from the outside, road racing looks I don't want to say boring is the wrong word, but it looks like super in control, right? I mean, there's a lot of cars on track, but you don't really know. It doesn't look like total chaos per se. Then drifting looks like chaos, right? And then once I started drifting, I was like, dude, this is like dancing. It's just nice and flowy. And then road racing on the inside is total chaos in the car.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
Dude,
inside the car.
it's and then like the car fires. I haven't been in that many bad car fires, but like It's
Like,
Yeah.
how much does contact happen? Like, it's
well,
inevitable.
that's
right?
a touchy
Like,
subject.
It is inevitable.
In grid life, none is supposed to happen, right? So you get like
But
I've
we've
been
gotten hit a lot this year.
Yeah, I got hit a lot this year, but like we've been like DQ'd for minimal contact because they're trying to keep contact down. I always race however the racing series allows. So there are certain things that you do in certain series that you could consider questionable,
Okay.
but is allowed. So grid life, no contact, therefore I will not push anybody out of the way. Other series, not going to name series, but other series, I'll allow for you to self-police a bit or allow a little bit of rubbing.
That's cool.
Right? So I like that stuff. So, I mean, I catch a lot of grief about this with some people because they're like, you know, if you're really racing hard, you don't have to race and you know, hit each other. It's like, well, there's a difference between like moving someone and being there and rubbing and crashing someone, right? There's
Well, and we got crashed into at CMP.
Yeah, that was true.
Hard. And that's from dive bombs, right? So you like
that's a great video.
Oh,
you
okay,
over brake
yeah.
the car and then you hit the car as they're turning.
Yeah, so like turn 14.
That happened to us twice this year.
Yeah, turn 14 last turn. Guy in a BMW, he's been making crazy dive bomb passes. So you got to be reasonable when you pass. Just because I'm on the outside and you're 4 cars back doesn't mean that this hole exists for you, right? So you got to be able to make it through the turn. So I saw him coming in. He dive bombs me. I let him go. So it actually messed my entry up because when I was getting ready to turn, he was going this way.
Yeah.
So he goes right past me, goes straight off the track. So I turn in, give him about a lane on the left. So I drove to the middle of the track because I knew he was going to enter the track. So I wasn't going to keep him out there. Other racing series, I would literally leave him out there. Like I would, if you get on my outside,
Fuck yeah.
I will not allow you back on track. You've made your decision. You've got to live with it. Grid life, I provide people with room. I think it's the right thing to do. They like, and it makes for good racing. I race grid life how they want to race it. I'll just say that. But in this scenario, I allowed him room. He returns to the track at about this angle.
He was actively crashing. You know,
he was
the
actively
last turn
crashing.
before the straight at CMP.
The very last
He
turn.
went on the like he dove bomb in front and then went off the track and was like actively crashing and then came back and hit Brian. Like Brian thought he was gone.
Dude, I put it this way. I didn't know what happened. When it hit, my head's like this, and I'm heading towards the wall. And I'm like, holy shit, what just happened? You know?
It like
And
it bent suspension arms.
Yeah, oh yeah, we barely made the rest of the weekend. It was bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, those things do happen. I mean, the other part of it is in road racing, there's going to be car contact when you're racing hard, because it's a lot of sustained time on track. I mean, I've driven races where, I mean, I ran Daytona one year where I was driving 2 different cars in the same race. So I did 2 hours in the first car, got out, did 2 hours in the next car, got out, drank some Pedialyte, did 2 hours in the next car, got out. So it was like within 7 or 8 hours, I think I had like a 45 minute to an hour break. And so being on your game, like being mentally in it, where you can just click those laps off, that will be the harder part to, I think, drifters is running more than 10, 15, 20 minutes where don't give it everything you've got in those first 10 minutes, assuming it's an endurance race or assuming it's 30 or 45 minutes. Keep the car up under you, keep the tires there.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated for
I'm
sure.
hydration
And just
is really
mentally,
the most-
keep yourself sharp throughout the race.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, that's when you go, because most people won't be able to keep the mental sharpness the whole race.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of. Were you at July 4th Drift HQ event?
No,
Okay.
I wanted to. There was some event I had to be at.
Well, it was very hot.
Really
Oh,
hot.
I'm sure.
And I am very good at hydrating, because
I'm not.
I try to be a responsible adult.
terrible at it.
Well, so that's the difference in like the endurance racing. We're going to do a lot of endurance racing, like 24-hour races next year. I cannot
shit.
fucking
Yeah.
wait. It's going to be awesome as shit. But it's like you have to be conditioned. You have to be planned.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of drifters in the afternoon, they start to, because a lot of us still have that. I'm a former skateboarder. Like a lot of us have that. We talked about this in the last one, but we have that former kind of skateboarder mentality. And skateboarding has evolved, like they're athletes now. And so we got to evolve a little bit where in the afternoon at July 4th, I was behind some like guys who are pro, who are really good drivers, who are doing some crazy shit and because they were dehydrated. And then we'd pull back to the paddock and I'd look at them and they're like,
Yeah, about
like
to
fucking
pass out.
birds
See,
were circling around the head. I'm like, dude, I brought him a water. I'm like, you gotta hydrate, buddy. But you know,
Fix yourself, bro.
because it's a lot of, you know, you put it well. It's like 10 and 15 minutes of chaos and like a sprint. And then you'll come back and you're like all juiced up and adrenaline's working. And then you fix your car and you're like, I gotta go back out there. And you forget to eat, you forget to hydrate.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's kind of it's an output of the sport in general, and is just the intensity, and then fix or communicate or socialize, and then go drive, and you know. So it kind of.
What do you do when you're one of those people? Because like me, I physically can't eat. Like if I'm in the middle of an active thing, like if I'm being active and blood pressure's up or whatever, I'll puke if I eat anything.
Really?
Yeah. Like
wow.
it's just.
Have you tried just like real basic like protein bars or something like that? Don't eat a lot.
That I can somewhat handle if it's just like one little.
Yeah.
But
so
even like when I played baseball as a kid, we'd have back-to-back games or something. No. People would go rush to the concession stand to grab a burger and a hot dog and slam it before the next game.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'm good.
Dang.
I might eat half a candy bar, and that's it.
I mean, I think that if you found the right protein bar and then you drank enough water and whatnot, I think you'd be fine. There's a lot of times where I don't eat like during racing. If I know I'm going to be
I'm
in
the
the
opposite, dude. I gotta eat a lot.
Yeah, it's like if I know if I'm going to be in the car a lot, the big thing is depending on the track, I don't want it sloshing in my stomach, right?
Right.
Gridlife's really easy because their races are only 12 to 15 minutes long. I'm like, damn, this race is already over. You know,
we're just chilling in the trailers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 12 to 15 minutes. Those races are, you got to go 12 tenths right now every lap. So that's pretty simple. So for that, I don't really prepare. Like, I don't chug a bunch of water or whatever. I take a bag of ice, throw it in my suit, and go on track, and then we're good to go. But I would find like I always keep beef jerky, protein, all that sort of stuff around, and I check myself during the day. We don't really eat lunch. You and I just eat like the bars and stuff throughout the day, and then at night we go home and slam like a pizza each and 4 or 5 burgers.
We grill at our Airbnbs.
Yeah,
we
so
there you go.
grass-fed finished beef, we do good.
any sort of hydration stuff too. Like if you don't like water, I get it. So you do want to stay in front of it. So the night before, I know a lot of people like to party when they're hanging out and going to the track and whatnot. But that same night, I would start. I use.
You mean endurance, right?
No, anything like because any sort of like drifting, driving, or whatnot. You travel so far to do these events. You really want to be sharp and enjoy it. You don't want to be, too hungover and miserable to do it, right? So
I've stopped drinking on drift weekends.
Yeah, BioSteel's a good one I used.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Glad I just
like
hardly
hydrating.
don't drink.
Huh?
Yeah.
I just don't really drink. So
Well, it's perfect for
You don't drink?
You don't drink and don't eat, so no.
Dude,
but
are you a robot?
Alcohol.
he's a robot, man.
That's cool, dude.
I know. Is it the new Elon Musk robots?
Shit.
When are we taking delivery of one of those?
I don't know, man, but it seems awesome. I love how we ping pong around.
Yeah.
I do want. How great would it be to have a robot to take care of your daily tasks?
I don't know about that, man.
Dude, okay, because I used to have a Tesla. and it-
Fantastic off the top of the head, just thinking about it, but
I don't know,
Imagine
man.
that thing just like
down, it
looming
sounds like a
over you while you're
disaster.
asleep, and it's
Dude,
like
I love the
your
names.
alarm is like him just like kind of patting you on the chest.
It's time
like,
to wake up.
Brian,
go fix the car.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
That's
now
what I
you're
would use it
talking.
You could
for.
probably
Go
teach
change
it-
the tires, you bitch.
I think good. I do not be mean to me, or I will end you. I mean, I'm being.
Can you fist fight a robot? Let's go back.
You'll
to
live.
I'm
sorry.
disabling your car. You're not making
Yeah.
it to work.
Oh yeah, if it was a Tesla.
Well, okay, so I had a Tesla, and the autopilot was really, really good, like shockingly good.
We used
so the robot.
They are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for drunk driving. So not that I ever did that, but
You're gonna get canceled again.
yeah, we're done. I'm just kidding. I don't drunk drive.
We're not speaking from experience.
No. For real though, it's shocking how good it is. So I just think that the robot would be easy.
Yeah,
if you
maybe
could have
so.
them change a turbo on your RV, it would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyways, back to motorsports.
Yeah. So back to
That's
hydrate.
right.
So
So what's the next
earlier,
point? Stay
well,
hydrated.
Earlier,
Stay hydrated,
I was
friends.
saying the different, like as a drifter in road racing, the things that I did were going too fast into a turn. Because as a drifter, you go fast into a turn because when you're sideways, the car scrubs speed significantly faster than when it's going straight. Even full brakes, doesn't matter how big your brakes are. So I remember when we first went to Barber in the Civic. Oh, dude, I was lighting them up in turn one every time because I'm used to going so damn fast in turns. And then the last turn, what's the long kind of caresel and when you dive?
Like
in?
up over Tunnel Hill.
No, right before the straight, the one that everybody goes on the outside, but we go on the inside. At Barber, one of the last turns.
Oh, you're talking about like right there, like 15, 16.
It's like the carousel.
Yeah. So like up over Tunnel Hill.
Yeah.
Right. So you're like 14, 15, 16, 17.
One day I'll learn the numbers. Yeah, but that one I kept overcooking it on that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing is like toning it down, learning braking zones and starting at the 5 board and slowly going back is one. And then also it's, loose is fast. So when your car
Within reason.
What?
Within
reason. So when your car, like if you wash a properly set up, good driver car, at a certain point in the turn, the car kind of slip angles
Yeah, it walks
into
a little bit,
into place, right? It doesn't just follow like a track or like a grid kind of thing. It
you're not like on rails, right?
Yeah,
like
even the front wheel drive cars will like oversteer into place. And what would you say? It's like
isn't there like a technique where I don't know if it was one of y'all's videos, but I remember seeing or hearing someone talk about where you want to get the front wheels around the rumble strip and the rears
that was
to
our
hit
video.
the rumble strip or something. It was?
Yeah, so it was the
Okay.
announcer talking.
Oh,
when
yeah.
when you passed, what's his name?
Yeah. So
he said you hit the rumble strip with the front wheels and then allows the
Yeah. So initially, which he spoke a little wrong on it because he said he thought the car was super tight because he said that I was hitting the rumble strip to like loosen the rear, which you will do that, right? So there's times where if you look at the way the track is set up, you bounce the rumble strip to get the car to rotate. So it's like you pick it up.
Yes, because you were saying it was better in a front wheel drive car.
Right. So he thought,
and then he was like, "Oh, that's a rear wheel drive car."
Yeah. Well, and they also were saying that they thought I was fighting a tight condition because I was running the rumble strips on like the second to last turn at Lime Rock, but really I just found for me and the way the car was set up, I was killing everyone there. So I just started running early entries because I shortcut the track a bit, whatever you want to call it, still within track limits. But it helped me get the car around the turn better. But yeah, there's times at Barber, the kink in the back straightaway. If you look, like the turns backstretch is going like this. So, and then the second part of the back straightaway is like this, right? So you have a turn that connects it. So in your brain, it looks like they're going like this, and you kind of connect the turn, but really they're at completely different angles. So you bang that curbing to rotate the car.
That's my favorite part of Barber.
You see what I'm saying? So you hit the curb, and the car will kind of pick up like this, and it'll get light on all the springs, and then the car will start to turn. Then it takes like this set, and then you're back to throttle, and so.
It's so much fun, man. Yeah,
You're making me want one now.
Dude,
Well,
it's a lot of fun, man.
on the drift stuff, it's like that's what basically when the car would have proper slip angle. As a drifter, you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing that. So you bring it back to on rails. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I'll let out of the throttle just a couple millimeters and the car will come back. But I'm actually slower through the turn because I need to have, what would you say, like 10 to 12 degrees slip angle?
It's technically, for a proper GT car, it's 6 to 9 degrees
6 to 9, okay.
of slip angle. That's a good, it depends on aero, it depends on a bunch of stuff. But yeah, 6 to 9 degrees of slip angle. And I don't know, how much do y'all run when you're drifting? I know that's
60.
How do you even measure slip angle then?
Just in ratio to the turn. I mean, it's
so it's like slip angle would be defined by the trajectory of the car.
like the rail, as we mentioned, rails. Like this is how a car would go through normally. How much is that car outside of it?
Yeah, so it's like
Like draw the
yeah,
turn and where the rear wheels are
so
to where the front wheels are.
You imagine if these are the two cars, like 6 to 9 degrees would be like that.
We're running like 40 to 60.
I was about to say y'all are all the degrees. But yeah, so that's it. And if your car's set up well, you can do that. And then I think another part of it too is setup. One thing that I was really thinking about a lot when we first started drifting was like setup. Because I know how critical it is in what we do. And I think in drifting you can get away with a little more, but I think weight distribution in a drift car is something that you really can't get away with, right? I feel like toe, I feel like camber, you can kind of whatever.
It's massive.
A bent control arm almost you can get away with, but I feel like a properly...
I've had a bent control arm.
Yeah.
What's
you
that?
drifted with it?
For a bit. Well, rear control arm, so it wasn't.
And you just drifted on it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
just the where it bolts to the chassis or where I don't even know where it is.
Right.
Just smushed in.
Yeah.
But it's still all the alignments would still.
Right.
line up right.
You would
didn't
feel
matter.
that in a track car.
Yeah, you couldn't drive it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, a road race car, you can feel a mill of toe. Like
It's wild. Like our S2000, we built an S2000 just to develop products, and we went to
Yeah.
Barber and tracked it. Dude, I drove it around on the street, felt great. I even went through some corners fast on the street. Dude, as soon as we got to Barber, it was awful.
a nightmare.
Like I went over the hill and it like fully oversteered and was like, if I wasn't a drifter, I would have crashed. And then like slammed, like going into the braking zone, like the back would like fully like wash out, like
Yeah.
it wanted to drift almost. And then it ended up being like towed out in the rear.
Yeah, the right rear was towed out. I can't remember why, but
Bad alignment, but
Oh yeah, but we fixed it trackside.
we fixed it and it was good.
And then
It's
the
just,
car was still loose, and then we made a couple ARB changes and tire pressure changes, and the car like turned on immediately.
but it's just wild because it seemed fine on the street. Like
Yeah.
like people who go
So
toge
crazy,
run,
yeah.
it's like you're pretty much in second and third gear. You're not going 100, 120 miles an
Yeah,
hour into a turn and then hitting the brakes as hard as you possibly can. So it's like road racing definitely exposes some shit.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot more on it. I mean, the Corvette, the steering column, the four bolts that hold the steering column up are broken. So I'm drifting with this car that is misfiring above 4,800 RPM. The steering column is broken, so the steering wheel's literally I can move it left, right, up, down. So I'm like
Nice.
drifting, and it's just moving around everywhere, and I'm having to pedal it. It sounds like I don't know what I'm doing, but I was trying to keep the RPMs below a certain point. So I'm just like ba 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 ba, like over and over, trying to keep the tires spinning, but you like. If you tried to do one lap at Barber in that car, it would have immediately blown up and you would have immediately crashed the car
And you would have died.
Jesus.
in a fiery. That's it.
Yep. Speaking of dying, you recently died. You crashed your car.
Yes, I did.
I'm sure he loved you bringing that
was,
up.
Sorry.
fucking fantastic. In front of everyone. Yeah, Fuel
Yeah.
Fest. It was
That's
great.
how it happens, man.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, no, I'm totally fine.
No, I'm dead.
Dude, that was the rider was fine too. Like,
Oh, you got a ride along?
yeah.
Dude, that's the worst about ride alongs is like the fear of one, a bad lap or like the car messes up and you're like, sorry, this sucked. This
Yeah.
never happens, I promise. But it does happen all the time.
No,
Yeah.
literally the whole day I would like kept going out, throttle cable issue where it'd stick, and usually I could just tap the handbrake.
Yeah.
It'd go back to normal. I could shut it down, get off track.
Yeah.
That time it did. I bursted a fuel line. The feed line going to the rail bursted from impact because it was pegged at limiter.
Oh, shit.
Because my throttle cable was just stuck fully.
So
open.
is it on entry? You said it was a beach
Yeah.
bend or?
At AMS, Atlanta Motor Speedway, in the little parking lot.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
janky
yeah.
parking lot that's
Oh.
terrible.
What did you hit? Did you just hit a wall or?
Yeah. I had entered because they had it set up where you entered going left on
Okay.
the back end,
Yeah.
and came back towards the crowd and shit. And as soon as I entered, and you have to there's that little dip right there too that you have to wait afterwards too. So I waited
dude.
after, entered, and then it pegged to the floor, and I just couldn't bring it back.
That
I checked
sucks.
it up enough to where it just kind of slapped
Yeah.
sideways up against the wall, but yeah.
I've been there.
And you're going to have it fixed for Polecat?
Yeah. I've already got the front wheels are in, new knuckles in. Nothing about the FDF kit was the problem. There's a couple people that said something about that. and
Really?
I'm like, that had nothing to do with it.
People make up problems out of nothing.
Oh, I know.
It's so
I wanna-
insane.
I want to reach
It
out
bent
to...
exactly how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Both the wheel, the Kansei wheel, and the knuckle bent and saved everything else.
I think that's a misunderstood thing about some of these cars where like control arms bending and stuff like that. People are like, oh man, this thing bent because of this. It's like, well, it was either that or your frame.
Yeah.
Which
hey,
one?
and I'm somebody who's
Exactly.
had a really
I'd rather
strong...
break a $250 wheel instead of a $3,000
Right.
angle kit.
I've totaled
Sorry.
a car from a really strong control arm where I hit a wall barely, wall tapped a little too hard,
Yeah.
to where it didn't even slap around. Dude, it bent the subframe moved 2 inches and where the back seat was had lift, had buckled up.
shit.
Because it was so damn strong that it moved.
Crumple
shit.
zones are very important.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Well, and the wheels too. This was a long time ago. They were rep wheels. I only rock authentic wheels now, but they were rep wheels, and they actually
You're a
didn't-
liar. They're all fake.
They didn't bend the way that they were supposed to. The wheels,
Yeah.
So it was not only that, but also the control arm, and it just totaled the car.
Yup.
And I was gonna say I want to. I've never met him, but I want to reach out to Josiah because it seems like he gets a lot of the same kind of treatment that we do, where it's
Oh, yeah.
he can do nothing right. Because I read comments and they're like, people will throw shade.
It's insane too, because like if you actually like just get just pick one up and feel it, like it's good material, it's good product, and
We
people
have a
just
couple
mess
other-
up the install. It's the same thing with you guys. People
sure.
will fuck up the install and blame it on the
Right.
company.
Yeah.
Well-
we're dealing with temperamental, systems. I mean, braking is 2,000 psi, and it leaves no room for error,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
on manual brakes. And then power steering is the same way. And it's also near 2,000 psi. If there is the slightest thing wrong, you will know about it. Whereas even suspension arms, for instance, if the alignment's off or like a Heim or like something's welded a little crooked, like it'll just align out and you'll be fine. But I mean, I guess not in his case a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no room for error and fluid transfer.
Yeah.
And then I guess in the levels in which he sells products is there's no room for error. So
I really think that
What the
ahead.
thing I've noticed, or the trend that I've noticed, is it's all guys who run WiseFab that
Who don't
talk
like
shit.
it?
Yeah, it's all WiseFab guys.
interesting.
like they're
Do
on.
you think it's just like a turf war kind of thing?
I guess, I don't know. Like personally, I wouldn't, even if I ran WiseFab or even I ran GK Tech beforehand. Like I'm not gonna dog on another angle kit company. It just doesn't make sense to
No,
me.
I really think people, it's one of those things where there's so many personalities out there in the world, and I think it's the only thing you can do is like try your best to educate them on your product, other people's products, and they're going to make whatever assumptions, accusations, whatever. You can almost spin anything that you possibly want to turn into anything you possibly want, right? So if I want to find a problem here, I will find it, and people are clever enough in the world now where they can convince anyone of anything. So all you can do is really, be honest, make a great product, and try your best to help and educate everyone. And you can't please everyone. That's just the way it is.
Dude,
Well-
the best example of that, don't forget, but the best example of that is like Chase-based products, and because we've had some haters, like I've doubled down on the motorsports stuff to be like, we run a racing series, and every single lap, and we have a good driver mod, but the car still has to work and brake well. We destroy people in the braking zones because of our dual piston brake booster delete.
Yeah.
Like destroy.
We-
Like their car goes here, and we wait another braking zone, and we go down. And we're running the same tire. It's a power to weight series, like all the same brake pads. Like there's no competitive advantage. And so we've doubled down on the motorsports. We make sure to get our products on like as many race cars, as many drift cars as we possibly can.
We've had zero issues with ours all year either. So
We've had zero issues with ours. Like
we've
we've
had
had every
tons of
problem, but
problems.
zero chase-based problems. Well, because our products are tested. We have an incredible QC process, like they work. But we do that to prove it. And to what you said, I saw a little comment thread one time, and somebody had a race car that they'd used, and they got third place. They won with almost our entire catalog. And they're like, you shouldn't run Chase-based products. And I'm like, dude, I do, and I got on the podium. What are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, that's because they give you special,
That's
special
right.
treatment. Like they
give you
send
special parts.
They send you better products, and they send everybody else like a lower quality version.
What the fuck,
Dude, I'm like, what's the point then? Why should we even try? Like, it's just
That's
crazy.
so
I'm like,
silly.
dude, that guy, we literally just took, I know exactly. We took it off the shelf.
our own
Let's
race,
just make up
dude,
anything.
our
Our
own
own
race
race cars
car.
like scratch and dent stuff.
Yeah, it's like, hey, go over there and get me one of this, and this. Okay, and we put it right on the car. Yeah, the thought that we
But
would
that's just, it's so true that like people are going to hate if they want to hate. Because when you go, dude, James Dean runs our stuff, Adam runs our stuff in Drift Masters. Like we try to work with top tier drivers, and we work with them to make improvements. We take input if they give it to us, and people will still be like, well, they give them special products. It's like, all right, whatever, man.
It's
Yeah,
just,
sure,
it's,
bud.
It's just the
Okay.
way it is. I mean, a lot of times I think that people don't actually, they haven't really thought through what they're saying, and they don't actually necessarily believe it. And I don't mind
just
it. I
wanna
mean,
be
I want
heard.
people to be able to speak their minds.
sure.
I want people to be able to,
Well, it's not like people are immune to it. I'm sure FDF has had failures as we have too.
Yeah,
But it's
absolutely.
all about what you do. And everybody, I mean, it's just part of getting
yeah,
better.
it's
progression.
growing, and it's a tough.
It's all about what you do. with
Yeah,
it.
I mean-
and both of us, I don't know why I'm speaking on FDF's behalf, but I've never even met the guy. But just, using him as an example, both of us, I know, would go, okay, let's make it better somehow. Or like this was the install
Exactly.
issue that led you to this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a great engineer now that works with us, and I mean, we look through all of our old products, and we know in the very beginning up until this point what we should and shouldn't do. We're pretty thorough now. I mean, we've always been thorough, but we're very thorough now with, like, his mind gets on it, my brain gets on it, our engineer's brain gets on it. We discuss it. There's drawing.
That's what's most important to me, man. Because
Yeah.
like the quality of the product is like, I would say 25% of why I would want to spend money on said product.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of products that'll work the exact same, whatever
Sure.
quality it is, however it looks, it doesn't matter. But what's on the back end of that?
Correct.
Is the customer service good? Are the people that own it, like, they have the same values as,
Right.
say, I do, or whatever the circumstance is? Like, I would much rather have that, because I know even if the product isn't at 100% potential, let's be honest, if man made it, it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
So I would rather the potential of it getting better over time be there, rather than someone that just made a product and like, all right, now we're on to this. We couldn't care less about that anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
I do wish more people had that mentality, and we don't do enough surveys. We probably should, like big companies
Yeah.
do, where they have like 100 people that they talk to.
Yeah.
But it does bother me a little bit that we're so like entrenched in motorsports, and we've got products on like every series and drifting, and like we're trying hard on road racing, but road racing is like the biggest onion, because there's like a million different series, and drifting's more simple, like I mentioned earlier. But we're, at the very least, we built our own race car, and we're racing, and we're like getting fastest lap times of the weekend. We're
Yeah.
getting hard charger award. Even when the car breaks, we're passing 22 people in less than 10 minutes.
Which is fun, but
Which is fun. And
does get old.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does bother me a little bit when people aren't actively involved in motorsports, and they don't have drivers, they don't have cars, and yet people are still consuming all their products. Basically, the difference between an engineer at a computer versus an engineer at a computer plus drivers, plus designers, plus enthusiasts, which is what we are. And we're doing great. It's just there's always room for more. And I see like people, because we don't have like a direct competitor, but we have like a competitor with that product, that product, and that product, and there's 3 different companies.
Right.
And it bothers me when I see that. I'm like, I wish people kind of had that mentality where they, and maybe I don't know. I hope that doesn't come off wrong or anything.
Well, there's always going to be those people that it does come off wrong too.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, people
can buy-
become so
people-
close-minded now.
Well, people
I
can
mean,
spend money however they want, but you've got
True,
companies
yeah.
out there that are like literal rip-off companies that I see them like using their products, and I'm like, they don't have a race, like they're not racing, they're
Right.
not using their products themselves. They're just either copying somebody, like 3D scanning our product or several other different companies' products, and then just replicating them.
Yeah.
I guess this is the way of the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's-
I didn't mean to turn this
I'm not
into
gonna say the
introspection,
name, but there's one fairly new company that I noticed come around, and like their social media blew up pretty crazy, but it looks like Alibaba parts.
Yeah.
Like the seats that they sell look like
Yeah.
you could literally go on Alibaba and the blank of that seat is sitting there with the glitter back, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, just that stuff is a little like, I would probably never buy a single part from a company like that, just because it's
Right.
Dude,
you know,
seats are
it's-
not something that you
Yeah,
wanna
you
mess
do
around with.
not
yeah,
mess with
absolutely
that.
not.
I mean,
'Cause
like-
I was just scrolling through Alibaba looking at like jet tags and
Sure.
stupid
Yeah.
Yeah.
promotional stuff to give away at events. And I saw those seats sitting there, and I was like, that stitching looks familiar. And then I went over to their Instagram, and I was
man.
like, there's no way that's the same shit. They just
Damn. That's
stitch a
throughout-
logo on there.
That's
Yeah.
throughout a lot of stuff, and China's figured out too that. Do you know much about TikTok Shop?
Yes, but not really.
It's not
Like,
involved in our industry. Like
don't
I even
use it.
tried just to get our stuff on TikTok Shop just to try to sell, because there's a lot of like TikTok dudes that are like car enthusiasts that we could have another avenue of retail. So we thought about putting a couple products, but we got denied immediately because they don't want to have motorsport products on there. And I get it, it's liability. They just want like vacuum cleaners and girls' workout clothes or whatever.
Makeup and shit
Yeah,
like
makeup,
that, yeah.
exactly. It's like 95% women, I think. So what I'm saying is that China has figured out China's figured out that for years, for 20, 30 years now, they've been selling to somebody for, say, $100, and that company turns around and sells it for $500, right? China's now figured out that they can just go direct to consumer. And they've figured out, too, that logistic companies will, because like our iPhones ship directly from China a lot of times. Like if you buy from Apple.com, it's a FedEx box that comes
Yeah.
from China. And so they figured out, like, well, shipping is cheap. the TikTok shop is crazy because women are making like, which is, I think is awesome. And I know that it's like kind of working with China and I don't love that, but it's cool at least that it's more capitalist than what America's doing because China's figured out that you can sell, instead of going to this retailer that's going to mark it up a ton and probably not have that great a customer service, and I don't even know that China does either, but they'll sell direct to consumer through TikTok shop, and then a housewife can make like 15% commission.
Yeah.
Or somebody in their part-time can make that commission. So it's kind of crazy once you look deep into that.
And then you get creators that like will make their own site and post it on there.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
do literally all of the work for you, and you're just sending shit out.
Can we buy
Exactly.
drift tires from there?
Well, it's funny you say that, but scrolling through in Alibaba, you start recognizing a lot of the products. So say it's like, you know, like a fashion brand or something, like the not like Gucci or Louis or anything like that, but like a lot of the ones.
Gear
like,
shift hoodies,
like-
like little gear shifter hoodies,
Yeah, exactly.
shit like that. Yeah.
And like different types of shoes, and like you mentioned, like seats and stuff like that. You're like, dude, this is literally just a company that made.
That was the most mind-boggling one so far. All the other stuff, couldn't care less. Like it's just monotonous.
But a safety,
product, but something that you're literally supposed to be relying on for,
Dude,
the
to not
seat's wild.
die.
I have seen some shit. You know what I mean? Like that.
Well,
You see
recently
the helmets too, man.
Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
I'm like, bro, no
I am
way.
a Stilo guy. I will always wear a Stilo. I will never not wear a Stilo. I know that, relatively speaking, they're expensive, but I mean, it's the most
They
comfortable.
look good.
Dude, they
We're
look
pretty
The way
sick.
the
bad.
helmet
Like,
looks is really
Drifters
good.
are pretty bad about not having great helmets.
Yeah, I think on the karting tracks, I mean, if your head hits a roll cage at 10 miles an hour, it could kill you, right? That's just the way it is. That's why street driving cars with cages is scary to me, but I mean, I'm not going to judge anyone for doing it.
I do it.
But he does. So, but for me, you know, on the karting tracks, I think you can get away with a little bit more. But I think when you go do things on, say, Lime Rock, Road America, something like that, dude, you need to prepare for that. You basically need to pretend like you're in a road race.
Yeah.
Man, those big tracks you can get hurt on, man. Road America.
I drifted Road America this year in the E36.
Yeah, but you have a Stilo and like you.
No, I know, but what I'm going to add like to the levels of speed.
It was nuts.
So the track is very wide, and we're you know if you grow up driving like mid pond or like basically a lot of us start in small tracks like Speed Sports or mid pond or whatever. They're like what is that, 20 feet, 24 feet. Road America is 40 feet usually, and
something
that's
like
not that's like they have so much track out because they do IMSA that you're talking like 50, 60 feet. So it's kind of hard to figure out how fast you're going. And then, you know, because you just, you pit on and the track's massive. First, second, third, fourth. Dude, I was going into one turn and then I was like in fourth gear, and I don't have that short of gearing, but I hit limiter in fourth gear, and I'm like, holy shit. And it almost made me check in with myself like, all right, don't just throw it in.
We're not God.
Yeah.
Because the track is so big too. I actually went off track really hard because I got lost. Like I thought I was in one section and I was in another section, and so I kind of come over a hill and I'm fourth gear drifting, and I go, oh, that's not the turn I thought it was.
Those turns were pretty blind there.
They're
Yeah, there's
blind.
a lot of.
Well, and then where I thought I was like a longer like right-hander, but this one was like a sharp right-hander. So I went off track. I've never hit kitty litter that hard. It was pretty fucked up. It's like still on the car. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like the one turn that happened was the one where there was a wall. Like it looked. I mean, maybe it's 15 feet, but it looked like it was like on the fucking track. And I'm hitting like limiter and fourth gear about to like faint
That's
entry.
insane.
Yeah, I was.
How fast were you going into like the, what was it, turn one, I guess, the entry down the straight?
Down the front straightaway?
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be turn one.
That's turn one. Pretty fast. I don't know.
I mean, it was
you couldn't have
insane.
really made it under 100. It's easy to get to 100. It doesn't feel that fast though.
I mean, I
not.
rode on, I think it was that track. I think it's the one I'm thinking of.
It's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Road America.
Yeah. Okay, so I am
You
right.
were at Lime Rock.
Yeah, I was at Lime Rock too.
Yeah. Okay. You went to Road America? Did I see you there?
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing media there.
Oh, they all blend together.
Oh, I know.
I know. I've just seen
Yeah.
you at a lot of them.
Yeah.
That is called
Either
the
way.
racing circus.
It's like 4 miles, right? The one that you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. Okay.
insane.
So you rode with somebody?
and Dead Moose 9 was
Yeah,
playing.
and that,
Yeah,
that
Dead Moose
first
7.
turn is ridiculous coming
Yeah.
down that straightaway because you get the entire
Yeah, you're coming
straight
up the hill.
to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a serious. I mean, y'all have to check up. Like, there's no, you can't, like, y'all would run out of gear. 5th gear in that car on entry would, I mean, you can't do that, right?
Yeah, no, the person I was in the car with, he could not. He didn't have any more gear.
Yeah.
He was just wah, bah, bah, bah,
Yeah.
and then fucking clutch kicking.
Who'd you ride with?
Scotty D at the time.
Okay.
That's who I was there to do media with.
Oh, okay, cool.
But, yeah.
My car was not, it was kind of miserable a little bit because the car was almost there, like my E36.
Yeah.
It makes about 460. And like I drive with a lot of grip, or try to, so much that people are like, dude, you drive with way too much grip. Like, you fucking took off on me. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want you to take off on me if I'm following you, so whatever. But so I drive, and I guess, I don't know, I've always driven with a lot of grip. It just makes me feel better. But
Yeah.
I had way too much grip. So I like had to keep pulling grip out. But then at a certain point, like the carousel, I finally got it to where it was kind of like Road Atlanta, like coming down that hill on the left-hander, and then you went into the giant carousel. It's like fucking quarter mile long or something.
Yeah.
So I finally got it to where the car had, you know, enough grip to be in 4th. I didn't have to downshift to 3rd or anything. And then, I pulled enough grip out of it to where I could track out and then go into the carousel and then could do the whole thing. And then the tires would just be smoking. But you're like halfway through and there's almost like mechanical sympathy because you're like hitting limiter for so long. You're like, dude, this isn't
Ridiculous, dude.
yeah, I don't know. It's maybe I just have too much mechanical sympathy, but it's just when you're doing it, it's like 20, 25 seconds that you're in that giant sweeper. So you can pull enough grip to where it's like,
The jump,
you're like, and the lateral force that you have. Like, I'm just imagining the oil going up, even with like an oil pan baffle.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm gonna starve my engine. I gotta let off.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would never even think of that.
I don't. Well, that's dude. It's so. It's funny you say that. Well, the more you know, and like the more failures that you have, because I've like blown several engines because of lateral force. Like even the Civic this year, like I didn't have an oil pan baffle. I didn't know we were going that fast, but eventually it blew up. And Barber is bad about that anyways. But yeah, you're midway through a corner and you're like, I know that I pulled grip out, but I'm still have a significant amount of lateral acceleration.
Yeah.
And I know that oil is up and like not where it's supposed to be. So. Maybe that's like
cool.
Maybe that's bad though.
That's not cool, but
maybe that's why like drivers get worse as they get older, is because they know too much.
Yeah, you gotta be able to.
There's like a certain amount of
interesting,
ignorance
yeah.
that can make you a good driver.
Yeah, I mean, you got to separate a little bit, like what we talked about, like not getting lost in the nuts and bolts. Where, you know, in the middle of this season, I definitely backed away from knowing as much. I'm just like, hey, this is the problem, fix it, and not, you know, well, this one thing was tight here, and in the past, I mean, I've helped build race cars that I've raced and stuff like that, but I've always, you know, it's been hard for me to separate myself from actually working on the car too. So, but yeah, a lot of really good drivers, they don't, I mean, like Kyle Larson barely knows how to, his wife openly admits that he doesn't know how to like work on cars. But Kyle Larson is arguably one of the greatest drivers that's ever stepped on this planet.
well, I think that's like kind of what we're seeing with all these young guys like Heroa, Manoa, and all that shit.
Dude, that
Don't really know anything about the cars for the most part.
14 years old and continues to podium at FD.
One thing that I've noticed.
Never been in a crash or anything like that too.
Can we talk- also
you're just
Naoki-
fearless, bro.
Naoki's son is 11 and just won D1 lights.
Insane.
So
Dude, I've driven with him. He is absolutely crazy.
here's one thing that
It makes you feel stupid too. You're like, dude, I'm 36 years old.
the one thing I've
feel so
noticed
useless.
about drifting, or I don't want to say noticed, the one observation that I have that could be wrong is, and we've kind of talked about this, but I say y'all, I guess I'm here too, but like, it's kind of at this point.
Yeah, you're
where,
a drifter now. You can't say y'all.
Yeah.
You're part of this.
You guys.
You're one of us.
But it's kind of at the point now where if you look at motorsports, you look at Global MX5, you look at GR Cup, none of these guys, kids, gals, all those people, they don't know how to work on cars. They've got really wealthy families that fund their stuff. It's drifting's going to get to this point where all these younger people are not going to know shit about the car. They're going to know how to drive, and they're going to know how to relay to their engineer and stuff like that. It's almost like your NASCAR, but circa late 70s, where guys are still building their own cars and taking them to the track and stuff like that. On a professional level, you do not see that at all in any form of road racing, round track stuff. You do not see that.
You don't see what?
Just people wrenching on their own cars and having, you know, another job.
team
Yeah, like you just, Yeah, I'm like drifting will eventually become that way. I mean, there's a reason why you see these guys setting up in North Carolina and stuff like that. I mean, you know,
You mean
We're
drift
just-
teams?
drift teams, yeah.
major companies away from that stuff happening.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what FD Japan event it was or whatever, but I heard them talking about on the live stream. A couple of the drivers were in a McDonald's commercial.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know.
Well,
Y'all may
that's-
not know, but that's epic for drifting.
It is. So that was, I think it was Kengushi's car. So I was at McDonald's, or I was in Japan, and I never eat McDonald's when I'm here in America, but McDonald's is different in Japan. It's like there's actually way less
heard that,
ingredients. Like all the bad stuff basically isn't in them, and it's hard too because you don't know. I don't know. You're on the go, so you end up going to McDonald's. But I went to McDonald's and then
I try not to.
I know. Well, yeah, but in Japan you just have to. So they had the I think it was the gold GR80 or GR Supra, the gold one that Kengushi ran in D1 this past year, and yeah, they had the toy car at McDonald's.
cool,
I know,
dude.
it was wild. They have it in like the display case and everything. I'm like, oh.
Hell yeah.
But in Japan, it is a little different because it's much more mainstream.
Yeah. So all like sporting, anime, cartoons, all that stuff is
Yeah.
more
It will be.
glamorized and
It's hard in America
natural.
though. I don't know if this is a dead topic to you guys, but it's tough in America because when you go to Japan, a lot of cars have wheels or modifications, and they're all tasteful. It's so rare. And here in America, unfortunately, like usually when you see a car like buzzing around, it's not tasteful. It's a random part sewn onto a car, poor wheel fitment, poor ride height. There's no performance value. Like it's not one of us in that car. And they're typically like revving at a street light or street racing and doing these things. And not just imports, but like Mustangs and Camaros and all that kind of stuff too.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it continues to happen with like street takeovers. Like America continues to get, like the car scene continues to be hostily taken over by people that aren't like
hood rats.
Yeah.
People that are not.
Sorry.
I didn't say it, but the people that are not grassroots enthusiasts, like fully into the creativity aspect, fully into the art aspect, fully into the design of the car, let alone the function of it, and the just everything together, like the whole.
I
Canvas.
saw
It's really it's a
Literal's
bummer.
video of like his car getting painted, and it made me think of that. Like it's
Whose car?
Ryan Literal.
Oh, yeah,
Whenever he did the change for Irwindale, the green.
the green, yeah.
And like everyone's commenting and stuff like how beautiful it looks and all that stuff, but like nobody cares that much anymore.
You know, and that's-
it's extremely sad.
It's weird
Well,
because
but it's a difference too because we do care. I mean, like on our level, like you go to Final Bout or you go to Gridlife, like everybody is one of us
at
for
that
sure.
level, yeah. But like just your average
Your
person
layman's-
wouldn't even
'cause-
think to go that far in depth.
So like we've been dealing with this our whole lives is when you tell people who are not into the industry what you do, they say, oh, like Fast and Furious or oh, like NASCAR,
Right.
Which NASCAR is cool, but we're not at all like
nowhere
that.
near the
So there's no understanding of what we do unless you're deeply in it. And actually the exterior view of it is kind of lame because they don't understand it. But when you go to places like Japan, if you tell them you're into cars, they get it. Like anybody that you talk to that lives in
it's
Japan,
like a whole culture thing. Yeah.
well, because it's deep. They I don't know how they did it right and we didn't, but we did something wrong because we did a lot of stuff right too. Obviously, I'm not trying to trash America
Football
here.
took everything over.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in the industry, like talk about hot import nights or like Nopi or like OG car scene shit was awesome.
Yeah.
If y'all were there, it was good times. Like it's definitely different now. But there's just talking to Toshi and Naoki and all them, they're like everybody understands what they do, and if they tell like salary man, they're like, oh yeah, we go drifting, we do this. They go, oh, like they think it's cool. The women think it's cool. Like it's not. It's like an accepted thing in the family. Like it's not disappointment to family if you're a drifter. I know, but they get it, and I don't understand like how that happened because all the street cars that are around are not our kinds of cars. But in Japan, all their street cars are like done
Well,
right.
do you think it's because everything's so compact?
That's what I
and,
was
like.
go-
It's honestly a luxury to have a car, so it's a little more like sought after. Like you
I
look
was wondering.
higher level.
Yeah,
to
and
have
like,
a car.
don't y'all have? Or
I mean,
say-
it's a pretty big country.
Right?
But isn't there a ton of tracks? Like in Europe, you can literally drive every 30 minutes and hit a racetrack or a karting track,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe.
Do you think that is it the same way in Japan? I've never been, but like
I don't know.
It's
I've
very
never been out
similar.
of this country.
So when we go to Bihoku or Mihan, like you just pull up. It's like a skate park. You just pay $20, you sign the waiver, and you go drift all day.
Whereas like here in America,
See, like that's way more convenient.
yeah,
you
here
can't
in
even. I mean, you can do that at Driven Luck. You can do that kind of at Mid Pond, but
and that's why so many
Like
people.
nowhere else.
But that's why.
it's interesting that we're in Alabama.
have to
here.
go?
What a rookie move.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it was some alarm I set
Are we
days
okay
ago
on
for
time?
something
Yeah,
else.
right.
Oh yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
But you see what I'm saying? So it's
No,
like
I do because
that's-
to go
that's-
to Barber, it's $1,000.
Yeah, you can't do a track. I mean, they need the problem is the insurance. We won't go down that road, but like
We're very sue happy.
over
country.
here, yeah. I mean, it's like you look at somebody wrong, they want to sue you, and then over in America, I know I've been sued 10 times for it, but that's a
You
lot.
look at people really badly.
How?
Wait a minute, 10 times. Hold on.
Maybe it's me.
This is how you get canceled.
Yeah, so I can't wait. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
So, but in Europe, there's karting tracks. There's this shit just everywhere. You can hit something, and it's the barrier to entry so low. Whereas over here, you've got these people that it's like they're doing street takeovers. They're not even aware that they could go do a track day. They're not even aware that maybe they could go to Mid Pond. Some guys are, but some guys aren't. So it's like I think it's one of those things where I think you do have to shame those people like that are doing street takeovers and stuff like
They
that.
don't give a shit.
Well,
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
think
I know,
it's
that's
cool.
the
The
problem.
harder we shame, the more they think it's cool.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
I made a reel about how they have 300 credit scores and like spend $80,000 on scat packs.
at 125%
And they were like
interest
just
rate.
cheering it on and shit. And I'm like, dude, you can't
Well,
fucking
so
vote
here-
at
it's,
these
it's an
people.
American
They're
culture
idiots.
problem. Sadly.
But here's the thing, though. Like, what if you were to invite those guys? Say, hey, look, I want y'all to come check out what we do. I want y'all to drive your car, right? Come to Mid Pond, come to whatever, and like be encouraging to other people because you never know. You could have these guys that convert to go, oh, I don't even want this car anymore. Now I want a 240. I want to do this. I want to do this. These guys have money in their car regardless of how the 292% interest rate or whatever. Like they've got money in their cars. They're finding like if they took that, they could have a cool drift
I don't
car.
think they will though.
You don't
Like,
think that they would?
I had a whole group, like this whole team, Door Tappers is their name. I had them on the podcast, and they came from takeovers, actively doing takeovers like every weekend. Came to the track, and now fully dedicated to drifting. They don't go to takeovers at all.
That's what I'm saying.
But
So-
they can't hardly get anyone from takeovers to come over.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
What do you-
and then they'll try it, and then they'll just still continue to go to takeovers too and crossbreed.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, no. Because you'll get shunned from us for doing that.
Right.
Like, we don't want that.
What is it about the street takeovers
Well,
that they like? Like, what is it about
the
it?
thrill? And
No,
like
I mean,
the-
I do understand, like, and I say this very lightly, like, I do understand why they think it's fun.
But
Yeah,
they're just
I
doing
totally
because there's
understand.
something like,
the dopamine rush and
Outlaw,
it's exhilarating.
like-
and there's
I get
things,
it.
and I just want to be clear, like, I do not like it, and I disagree with it, and it causes, like, I see, like, forward thinking, I see, like, massive issues with it, but I can put myself in their shoes when you're young, like, why they think it's cool. Because it's like punk rock to them, you know? It's
But
just
if
like
you're a
everybody
30-year-old
is.
out there doing it, it's like, all right, we got to grow up a little
And
bit.
here's the
Like,
weird thing that I've talked to people about is that in Japan, what's cool? Street drifting. What's cool? Canyon runs. However, the difference is a cultural difference between Americans. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in America, if you're Asian or black or white. None of that matters. It's just an American thing. And by the way, I love America, and we're voting tomorrow. And I hope that everything
Yes,
goes
I've
well.
already voted.
You did? Oh, you
I got
voted
that shit
early?
over real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang, we should have
Definitely was
voted.
doing that.
I don't think we could in Alabama.
But
actually.
go vote. I don't
But
care
go
who you vote
yeah.
for. Vote.
So I do want to be
I
clear
care.
that, like,
I'm
I
just
deeply, I deeply understand Japanese culture now, and I grew up watching. Oh, not grew up, but when I was 16 and 17, like coming into cars, like I watched every option, just like we used to watch 411 with
Yeah.
skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like I've watched every option, and like, so I understand it from that perspective. And now visiting and like talking to people like Yusuf and Toshi and all
Yeah.
them, like for hours, like understanding their culture. They have problems. We have problems. Seems like they have less problems than us. So I just don't want people to take me out of context and be like, oh, he hates America. I'm wearing a shirt that says United States of America. Like big America fan here, and I actually want I want to make America better.
Great again.
Great again.
I don't care. Say it. Like
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
tired. That's one thing I am tired of is a lot of the automotive industry on the internet just shying away and completely hiding from politics. It's getting
Yeah.
too fucking
It
ridiculous.
is-
Well, in
it is
2020 and
tough, man.
2021, like almost like every day I would post something, and I would never like. I tried to have like alternative views. Like I'm gonna not shame you guys, but I'm gonna say like logic. This is why what you're saying is dumb. And don't even use the word dumb, but like, hey, let's just look at this from a different perspective. And I lost a lot of friends and like don't even speak to a lot of my family because of it. I don't know. I'm down. Like I got signs in my front yard. Like So I own a business. I'm just trying to be careful. So let me just make this point.
No,
I don't make it like
I don't want you to make the point.
all it's about, but
Sure.
I'm not going to shy away from.
Well, good for you, man.
comment
I mean,
on
like
politics or something. Yeah.
when somebody asks, I mean, do I not bring it up like as much as possible? Yeah.
That's the first thing he says every time we walk into.
I go, hey, what's up? Who you voting for? By the way, when I was, I'm never gonna make my point. When I was dating before I met my wife, I would like the feminist shit was like out of control to where I would like sit down and say something like funny and like, you can't say that because there's microaggressions involved and this deep seated in the left of center bubble. I'm like, shut up.
Don't dumb shame me.
Don't dumb shame me.
I have a good friend who's a comedian that did this dumb shame thing. And
Don't
it was
woman-splain me.
hilarious.
So I started sitting down and I would just say, hey, who'd you vote for? And they'd be like, oh, obviously Hillary Clinton. I'd be like, I gotta go. I'm out of here. So that saved me a lot of time, and that's how I met my wife. Because she said, anyways. So what was I trying to? So in the point that I've made is like in Japan, they do a lot of like toge runs and street drifting and canyon runs, like still to this day, like you see it all the time. And then people are like, well, how come that's okay, but street takeovers aren't? And it's because of the culture difference. Because literally like 2 blocks from here is a street takeover spot, and I think it's this way.
I don't know where they're at.
Well, you can see the tire marks. And they put speed bumps down. I'm like, cool, you just made ramps for them. They like it more. So
sounds awesome. I'm
kidding. So the difference is that in Japan, like they have on these canyon runs, and I know because I've been on them, is that at the beginning they have a car sitting there, and at the end they have a car sitting there. So it's very safe. Because their culture is very respectful. Even when they're doing like renegade shit that's illegal, they still don't want anybody to get hurt.
They're not dragging other people into it.
They understand the forward thinking of what they're doing to know that drifting is a precious and beautiful thing, and they don't want to mess it up.
Right.
And so they say, let's do our due diligence. We have a spotter here and a spotter here, and they have like contingency plans. Like if something happens, they have like a tow truck, like they're very planned and coordinated about it, rather than like shutting down traffic in the middle of an interstate and like literal deliveries not making it to places on time because they wanted to shut down.
No regards for anyone else.
No care. Like actually the opposite. Like they intentionally inconvenience you. So with Japanese street drifting, there's like it's like closed course, and usually in a place where nobody is, because it's kind of crazy in Japan. Like you see these beautifully, perfectly paved roads on like the side of a mountain, and you're like, who drives up there? And there's like one house, and it's like you made this entire road for that one person's house, and a drifter buys it, and so they have an open.
That's fucking amazing. I didn't know it was like that.
No, it's wild, man. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so I just making that point. It's like the greater point, I guess, is that it sucks that in America, like we can't seem to get the car culture right. Like you have meets and like no burnout. Why the hell do y'all want to do burnout so bad? Like what is it with us?
We fed into this whole your truth bullshit too much. Is the thing. Everyone's so self-centered now. They're too filled with their own bubble. There's no room for anything else.
There's like no room for your fellow man, right? Where it's like you don't really care about how loud something is. You want to wake all the people up when you're doing your burnouts. You want to inconvenience everyone, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like an entitled.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can't even help it. Like they'll have 2 good parents and they'll be raised right, but it's like media. God, I sound like a boomer. But it's like the media like, even indoctrinates a woman or a man, like a young woman or a man, to like think that like everything is
you have to deal with a third parent in every child in today's age. It's just crazy.
I think all you can do is what you're doing, right? Like you're doing podcasts, you're bringing, you're bringing road racing into your stuff. Like here, like you're bringing all these different things together. You're talking to everyone that's in the industry. You're getting everyone's opinion of all these things, and people are watching that. Like people are watching all of us. They're like I said, shaming that sort of behavior, I think long term will have good effects. I think getting people to the track and realizing, dude, the second I was really road racing and doing well, I didn't care about. In fact, I haven't owned like a cool car. I had a Z06 like 12 years ago. I've had nothing but trucks since then. I raced so much I don't even own a car or a race car. And I know my situation was different because I was able to race, but the point was like I just didn't care about driving like an asshole on the street anymore because there's just nothing that can compare to that door to when you're taking a race start and you know that you got 14 hours ahead of you. There's nothing that could.
Story about how when we first met.
Huh?
Go ahead, finish. I was like,
Oh,
you were on a good
so
side.
Dude, yeah, I know. I was like,
Well, actually, but it has to do with what he's talking about.
But,
you said drive like an asshole on the street.
oh,
Oh, okay.
God. Are you about to do this to me?
Yeah. Finish your point.
Okay, well, I know what you're about to say, and this sucks
He's
for
like,
me.
I can't now. Fuck.
But no, but once you do that for real, even though I'm about to look very stupid, once you do that, it's like it's hard to compare, you know, and it's just I think you get more people into that shit, and then they won't want to do the other. All right, go ahead and make your point while the train's coming by.
Well, so Import Alliance back in the day when it was at Tennessee Titan Stadium.
I hate my life.
Yes.
It's not that bad. We've all had. Do you want me to not tell the story?
No, I want you to actually. It's really
Okay,
funny.
So
I just want to be a bitch about it.
yeah. Well, it's funny because I street raced when I was like 16, and then once I was on Honda Tech and I stopped because I was like, oh, this is frowned upon, and that's why like the shaming can work. But like nowadays, like y'all mentioned, there is no shame in our culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
That's why
whenever
I bring back bullying.
Hell yeah.
We need
great.
bullying.
Yeah. Well, because I started making friends with like fellow like JDM Honda guys, and they're like, dude, you shouldn't street race, man. That shit's like unsafe, and like people can die. Literally, Bush Boulevard happened like a year later. Somebody died at the street races down here.
He got shot though, didn't he?
No. Somebody like they wrecked.
That's
and then
right.
ran
That's
over
right.
that
That's
dude.
right.
So, sorry, there's a lot of
What?
backstories here. A street racing incident happened like not far from here, and somebody got ran over.
Oh,
and died.
okay.
So I had gotten out of it by that point, but it was stupid, you know. But I like by the time I was 17, I didn't do it anymore. But anyway, so Import Alliance was like a long time ago. It was not what it was today. We used to just meet at Tennessee Titan Stadium, and then underneath the bridge there in that big parking lot, Don would like reserve that, and then you'd have like a bunch of clean like JDM Hondas and like some
Or
outliers, and
SRT4s.
stuff. So
The better IA days.
so I knew of you like because we both were in Birmingham. We were both car people, and you went to the street races too a little bit. So you had an SRT4, if you remember those, like the Dodge Neons
yeah.
that made gobs
Yeah.
of power like really easily. And it was so crazy back then too, because like tuning, like we didn't have like Haltech and Link and like all these easily accessible tuning solutions. You would just get like an FMU and like turn up fuel pressure, and then like what did you do for the boost?
So
you would force the wastegate open.
So a quick story is that my dad knew a lot about cars, right? And he didn't want me to modify my car. So the only way I could do it is I had to make it look like it wasn't modified. So AGP had a TD04LR turbo that they had ported, but it was a factory housing, right? So I did that. On the wastegate. It has integral wastegate, right? But what I did is I took a turnbuckle off of a screen door, spray painted it black, hooked it to the actual arm itself, and then put it down towards like the firewall, and I could adjust the boost by turning the turnbuckle to like loosen it up with that. And then I put was it Apexy AFC Neo? I think it was.
Yeah, those were the fuel management.
Yeah,
just
so
like piggyback, just a few wires.
So I used that to do the air fuel correction, but I shoved it so far up under the dash where he would have had to pull the dash out of the car to like find it. So I did all these things, and the car made a lot of power. It was really, I mean, I had to get clever.
That's funny.
He didn't have car control skills at the time though. So he started doing a burnout, and it was front wheel drive. So it started like skipping, and then it went over and like through a curb and into a bush.
Well, to be fair, I drove.
But he didn't even do the thing that most people do where they get out and they go, oh man, he like burned out of it and hopped the curb and then
So I hit.
but then was like chanting out the window, which is the proper thing you do if you
I hit the curb first. So what happened was that parking lot, if you remember, is one way in here and one way in here. But there's like this concrete. I don't know what you call it, like what you would normally park against. But it was all the way across the entire parking lot, and I couldn't see it. I thought it was like one of those parking lots where you can enter from anywhere.
Yeah,
right? I thought it was
yeah.
just kind of. And so I'm doing doing like a burnout ball, being stupid. I think I had like water bottles on my windshield wipers and they're going back and forth. I'm being stupid. And I dropped the e-brake and took off on this big rolling burnout and just smashed the shit out of the curb, dude. And as soon as it hopped over the curb, I think I did hit the bush. Like I went to the bush and then came back across. And I stopped and thought to myself, what's the proper thing to do here? So I put it in first, and I dropped the clutch and did a burnout and snatched second, pulled the e-brake back up, and I sat there and just smoked the tire so there was almost nothing left. And then it ran out of, but then the boost started dropping. I was like, oh shit, I blew the engine up. But then I drove off, and I got out, and I busted a hole in the intercooler, and I guess I hit it enough to where I was just burning out and eventually just like fractured that area. And I drove home with no air conditioning, no power steering, and no boost. And a smashed front end.
Fuck.
Well, what's funny
Don't
about
do
this,
that stuff, guys.
I was going to say, what's funny about this is we basically were like, why do we do this stuff? And like, we really did it. But we were like fucking 16, 17 years old. And I guess, we did wise up and, why'd we do it in the first place?
Attention. I mean, that's the thing is like, when you're that old and you're doing a burnout or whatever, you're not doing it because you're wanting to show off your car control skills. You're wanting to be the loudest person in the room. You're wanting everyone to look at you, and...
But this goes back to, and this is funny, we're taking this goofy story and making it serious, which is like, I guess what we do.
The weave.
The weave. But what it is what one of y'all said, like, it's so easy to get on track in Europe and Japan, and it's so difficult here. Think about my CRX, my B16 CRX when I'm 16 years old, going to Barber.
Oh, man.
That's just insane. And then, I wasn't really interested in autocross. I did it a little bit, but like, there was just too big of a gap. Yeah. Because Barber is an extremely legitimate like road course that Indy goes to, and like SRO, like all these legitimate series go to, and then my little like spray painted CRX ain't gonna make it, and. There's no middle ground. Well, sure, but
it's just too expensive.
It's too expensive, and I didn't know. But if there was like a Bihoku or like a Mihan, when I'm at Bihoku, there's track cars there.
Right.
Like there's two FDs that are just buzzing around, and they'll go for like 20 minutes, and then they'll give us, time, and then like it's not just drift cars that go there. There's track cars. Bihoku would be fucking awesome in a CRX, and it costs $20 USD, and it has since like the fucking 80s. To go there and drive all day, and Barber back then even was $350, $400 per day.
Well, and
it's like going into an amusement park.
Well, and that's the thing too and Barber also the insurance, right? So if you go off track and hit a wall, you have to pay for it, right? So you have no room for error. You really can't put. And that's the beautiful thing about like mid pond or driven luck and things. You can go slide your car around and push it to its limits. You can actually drive your car and make mistakes. You got it. Like, name one thing in life you get better at without making mistakes. Nothing. How about nothing, right? So you got to be able to, whereas Barber is so expensive that, dude, you hit, depending on how much guardrail you touch, it's $750 a section. It's pretty easy to hit 3 or 4 sections. Not hard, you know?
So self-discipline is
right.
fucking high
so then,
there,
So then
you're not going to drive 10
So now you're not going to drive 10 tenths. It's probably $500, $600, $700. I will say this, Jay Zilla does a very great job about getting the pricing affordable for people to come to the track. James at Jay Zilla does a really good job.
It's still too expensive for basically 16 to 21 year olds.
If you could spend, if it was 20 or $30, you'd get more people there, right? So it's almost like you need a track. You need the tracks like Driven Luck, and you need the mid ponds, and you need to be able to do some grip stuff, which I know Mid Pond does some grip stuff there.
They do. But you hold the track record.
Yeah, I forgot. I hold the track record.
He does. Well, what's funny is that he holds the track record, and was it Blake's Miata or?
Yeah, it was in my brother-in-law's Miata.
Oh, it wasn't even your car.
So it's
I've never owned one.
It's a ripper. I mean, they do. It has like a bunch of chase-based products, like they win Champ Car and all that.
Yeah,
with a super simple setup. But he holds the track record. But now the track is like. It's impossible to beat now because it's got too many dips. But it was back in the like original days when there was only a dip or two.
And to be fair, no, Ken said that they're getting closer. So Ken texted me the other day and said some guys are starting to get close to that lap time. So I don't want to say in my defense because I have the track record, but in my defense, it was kind of wet outside. It wasn't like raining wet, but sections of the track were wet.
Dewy.
When I ran, it was like 36 degrees outside. Yeah. So I told Ken I wasn't going to come back and beat it until someone else beat it, and I was going to let them like hang on to it for
10 years.
Well, I know, but when someone beats it, I'm gonna go out there one day later and take it back, and then I think that'd be funny, or I won't, and they just hold it. That'd be sad for me. But
Do you think the GLTC car could beat it there?
No.
No, because it's just
it's
too
just
much
too
power
fast.
on top.
Dude, I tested a C7 Z06 there that we had worked on, and it was just like, it's just too tight. It's a great track for drifting.
Same as drifting. I mean,
Yeah.
like my JZX was more fun to drive there than the E36
Yeah,
because
it's just too fast.
E36 is too much power.
Yeah. So no, it's hard on in a really, really fast car. I don't know. GLTC car might do pretty good actually. The more I think, I keep forgetting it's
Well,
only
the power band is, but the Miata doesn't really have a power band.
Yeah, we can try it. I mean, let's just take it out there. I mean,
It's got the
It ain't
cool
that
levers.
damn far.
yeah, it's not. That's like 30 minutes from here.
It is kind of crazy. You know, I worked so hard for so long to like make drifting good in Alabama, and then I kind of just like gave up. But now we have,
It's starting to get there.
yeah, well, like we have Driven Luck and Mid-Pond in one state.
Yeah.
And most states don't really have like a dedicated drift track.
But doesn't that go back to what we've just been talking about? Is having places to go, right?
The
Well, I
accessibility
mean,
of it,
you're
yeah.
not going to see the effects of doing great work overnight.
it can take a decade.
So
Yeah.
actually, let me ask you this then. Do you think that is the next bridge to kind of, I guess, conquer is the pricing of all of these events? Because we're spoiled now. We technically like have the accessibility to
Right.
events, but they're expensive and you're having to pick and choose between which ones to go to. So
Yeah.
like,
well, so
is that the next step? Is just making things cheaper?
I'd love to. So the polecat, I know it's funny because we were talking about polecat and we've gone off on like 100 tangents.
Well, yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, but the polecat, so I want the first one, like we have a lower driver count because I want all the cars to be really sick.
How much?
Because
What is the driver count?
It's variable. It's kind of just where
okay.
it's going to be about 40 or 50.
Okay, cool.
And we could fit
Yeah.
probably 80.
Yeah.
So some people are going to get denied because we only want like fully top tier built cars up, not like even if they have like a turbo engine and like, you know, turbo M52 that's fucking 600 horsepower, but the exterior is kind of stock, like an E46 or something.
Yeah.
Because we've got some E46s that are like rippers and they're
Yeah.
great drivers, but the cars just are like kind of stock on the outside, like stock wheels even. And but they have all the money in the suspension and an engine. So like we have to deny them because again we want to do this every year and we want bigger sponsors so that because I might lose
It's
my
got to
ass.
be a
that-
heavy media focus on it.
the
so
track is
cars
not
need to look
cheap.
good.
It's a really, I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's normal price for like a racetrack. But,
Yeah.
But it's like a legitimate racetrack.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap. So I'm worried I'm going to lose money. And I might end up losing money, but that's okay because I want to do this every year. If we break even, we're okay. But we want it to be like incredible for our first annual event. And having a lower driver count too creates less logistics for us to worry about. And it's our first event. And we're like Swan is running the drifting side of it, and we'll probably end up running the like entire grid and everything. So we've brought in like the best people we can possibly find to do things. But
That's good.
But the price is lower than other people are charging because I don't, not to be like communist or whatever, like, but I think the drivers, like you want to get enough spectators to where the drivers could drive for free. You know, that's what
the
I
goal,
think.
yeah.
That's, I think, a big way to answer your question. I think that's the way that we could do it is to have enough spectators. Because, dude, spectators, you can get into the thousands, and then that's when you're like, oh, easy. We can make, not only can we make money, but we can like refund the drivers. We can also come out with money, which obviously you have to, or else you wouldn't do it. Just
I
because,
think that would save a lot of like drivers getting so pissed off at event hosts for like little dumb shit
Yeah.
that happens. That
Do
wouldn't
people-
even necessarily be the event host's fault, but like it happened.
have you seen that?
I mean, yeah, plenty of time. Like just like you mentioned, take this part out probably or just bleep it
Yeah.
because they told me not to speak about that. But
Right.
but like yeah, I mean, drivers were getting pissed off. I mean, some of them drove 16 plus hours to come drive that track and got exactly. You know,
You mean because there was no seat
40
time?
minutes of seat time, and like that was really it. But
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
all a whole bunch of outside factors that
Yeah.
were going on that just couldn't even control. Even the
Yeah.
track owner himself.
No,
just
it was
couldn't
really
control.
it was really cool, and I talked to him a good bit. The track owners, the
Yeah,
guys who
yeah.
run the
Yeah.
track. They wanted to have it happen, but they literally were like, she's standing right there.
Oh yeah, I drove and went and got lunch, and like I saw them at the gate talking to one of the
They had like a
not gonna
news crew
specify
out
who.
there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a big. I mean, that kind of goes back to our earlier conversation. Not to bring that back up, but like where in America we have so much risk. I was going to build a track, and I said I'm going to lose my ass.
Yeah.
It's going to cost me $5 million, and I'm going to lose all of
It's
it.
too much red tape, man. But like,
Because I would get shut down in like a year, and I would be bankrupt. This business would be out of business. My life would be in shambles, all because I wanted to give people.
Well, you'd have to do like what Driven Luck's doing and go completely
to-
out in the middle of nowhere at the top.
well,
of
that's
a
how all
mountain, which
racetracks
is, like,
begin.
That's right.
Like Road
Yeah.
Atlanta, all those guys, they were out in the damn boonies, and then people move in on them.
just
Well,
gonna
no
happen,
racetracks are
yeah.
built anymore. I mean, like the
Yeah.
only way to do it is like Driven Luck. They literally did almost everything themselves. I don't have the time for that. Thank God they do.
Yeah.
I want them to be so successful, and I want them to keep. I want them to do like basically build what Road Atlanta was in the '70s, but in modern day somehow.
Yeah.
But like, if you want to build a track now, it's $5 million at least, and I guarantee you, Road Atlanta was less than $5 million to build from the get-go.
Oh, dude.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know
Road-
there's inflation and stuff,
Yeah.
but like, come on.
Yeah, I think, but to your point though, right?
let's
So
get back
to
to
get back to the point of the price thing, you think about these kids that are teenagers and maybe early 20s that maybe they can't afford all the great things, right? Like they can still make their car clean and whatnot, but the barrier to entry is so tough for them. Where do they go? And say and screw the street takeover stuff. Like not even talking about that, but the guys that want drifting, they love drifting, but they don't have the resources to do it. So where do they go? You know, if it's $300 or $400, $500, $600, $700 for an entry fee, well, dude, they don't. You know, that may be what they make in, you know, a month or something. You know, I don't know what the numbers are, but like that may just be so far out of the realm for them. So to me, it'd be cool to have this almost like a 501c that, you know, rents a track and invites people and almost not holds like a tryout, but invites people
Well, just an example, Irving from KBD literally just did this. Like he hosted the first ever KBD customer appreciation event, which was ironic that like you branded it that way. And like I'm starting to see that other places too. But like if you have any KBD part on your car whatsoever, you get to come and drive for free.
Dang.
No
What
ifs,
track?
ands, or buts. I think it was some little kart track out in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's a fun little tight technical track.
Yeah.
And didn't even if you just had one side skirt on your car that was KBD.
Yeah.
Like you got to come drive for free.
That's cool,
But
man.
like the media, there's a shit ton of media that came out of it. There was plenty of expectation from like a first event and like not even really marketing the event too much. Like
Yeah.
it was just kind of posted on Facebook a couple of times and that was it.
That's awesome.
So like I'd like to see some stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that would
Well,
be
see,
really
and that-
cool
and
to
to
give
what-
back too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier is like this event, we're charging a lower than average fee, but that's why we want bigger sponsors. That's why we want the first event to be such a huge, incredible success, is because that's the vision, is that, and the kart track
Push
would
the
be
step
easier.
forward for all of it.
Sure.
Right, is that if Chase Bays, and this, dude, so customer appreciation is a lot of like HKS Day and all that stuff, it is free for drivers. And they've been doing that for forever because they get so many spectators. But the smaller events like the ones that I went to, they couldn't do it for free. You can't, that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, because they would lose money and why would they do that? But when you have a legitimate track like Polecat, like that's the vision, is that you could, have 100 driver cap, and you don't have to focus as much on the quality of the car, like how, because everybody wants their car to be sick, but maybe they're just not quite
Right.
there. I've been there myself. But yeah, that would be great, is if companies could make enough money on spectators or sponsors of that event, and then we could provide drivers with like free track days, because that was that's what happened in Japan a lot, is that, and that's why they still have these customer appreciation events, is because the companies, like you mentioned, and then if we did it or any of these other companies would hold events once a year, and then you could go get shitloads of seat time. It wasn't anything else. There wasn't all this other stuff going on. There's not a festival. There's not anything. It's just about the driving. That would be really cool if companies like ours could, not like give back like it's a charity, but to where we could create a situation where we didn't lose our asses like financially, and it could still build the brand up and create media, and then just create fun and like a good place. Like if more companies did that, then there'd be nonstop events.
Oh, all the time. And then all of the events like Gridlife and all the big ones would just get you 10 times better.
Yeah.
And you would have the whole growth of drifting entirely.
Yeah, Gridlife is, the Lime Rock was a bummer for sure. Because I was more stoked about Lime Rock because the prior year was so much fun and there was a lot more seat time.
Such a good event, man.
The track is just so fun. And the one section that like everybody wanted to drift, we couldn't drift, because we had to let off. But it does suck when you don't get any seat time because, dude, you got to get your sea legs. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. The first few runs aren't going to be your best, even if you've driven the track a ton. Like, I know that speak with some of the best drivers on the planet, like they feel the same way. Like their first laps kind of suck.
It's tough for you
So
guys.
when every lap is your first lap, you're not going to do good tandem. And then you're like, oh, cool, me and Grant can tandem. And I'm like, I don't know how fast this car is. And then I like go up too fast on him, so I let off, and then he takes off. And I'm like, ah. Oh. So we could have texted while we were waiting in line and be like, hey man, just like roll a little differently on the throttles, do this, do that, so we can have better tandem. Like you don't have time to do that.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It's tough for you guys because, y'all are at these big tracks, new tracks, and then you've got, how many runs do you get in? I mean, you can
we got about 2 or 3 laps.
2 or 3, right? And it's like, but y'all, the time allotment is like, you can't really go a whole lot more because there's so much packed in. But
and somebody went off on like one of the runs, so we literally.
I know that's hard because just running laps. I mean, that's the best thing you can do in my world is just it's the reps, right? It's just lap after lap after lap, and then once you get really comfortable, then you can start kind of like dissecting how to get better. And but sometimes you just need like the reps, and I feel like that's really hard on the big tracks for you guys because getting those reps in is tough, and that's full circle back to barrier to entry. That's what's cool about Driven Luck and Mid-Pond and stuff like that, or these events. Y'all can just go out. We can just go out there and just blow tires off a car nonstop. Like you may not have enough car for it.
Yeah.
It really is the closest thing that we have to anything like Japan.
It would be cool to see, though. I know, like when we were talking, or when you were talking about building a track and whatnot, it'd be cool to see a little bit bigger track that you could road race on a little bit and do like goofball shit, like do a key car enduro where we drift all day. Then we're gonna get some Geo Metros, put some cages in them, and we're gonna run a 6-hour enduro starting at 8 p.m. And we just run it through the night. Right?
So Bahoku is bigger than people realize. Like you're familiar with Bahoku, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you transition into the wall and then it stretches out and then you have that tire wall. It's way bigger than you realize. Like when you come out, you're like top of third, you stay in in second, and then you shift into third, and you go all the way to the top of third, and then you clutch kick and transition in. Like it's a bigger straight than I realized the first time I went there. But they run key car endurance races. They'll do like
would be so sick.
The most fun you can have, dude. Like,
dude, that would be amazing.
Because all you can do is tires, and they run like fucking 165, like trailer tires, basically. So they'll it's just. And they flip so easy too. So you have people like flipping left and right. But you can ride it off because they're like, dude, they're like 1,000. Like Toshi hit a rumble strip. Those cars, they're like fits. Like you hit a rumble strip too hard, you just keep going. So he was in first place and like flipped and But you ride it off because it's like $1,000.
Yeah. But like, anything like that.
Back to the track. Yeah.
But having like a little bit bigger of a track where you can, get where it's not too much like an autocross and it's more like, hey, we're gonna get some speed. Because, like, when you go to Barber, for example, and you're barreling down turn 1 where it just breaks away and you can't really see the rest of the turn, I mean, that's a commitment thing, right? And you're traveling, even if you're in a slow car, you're going so fast that it's a different I guess it's a different experience.
Well, I think that's why a lot of drifters started getting into road racing is because Gridlife gave you the opportunity to drive these racetracks.
Yeah.
Because before, I mean, they've been around for a while, but it's taken time. Because even like Road Atlanta, you would just drift your sections.
Yeah.
But there was a moment when they started doing the drift taxi, I think is when it happened, because they started saying, drifters, do a grip lap. See what your car does. Do a grip lap. So I was doing that at I do it at every course. We did drift taxi, and I track anyways. But like in the E36 at Gingerman, the car was kind of running hot, but I would drift a lap and then I would track a lap. And then, not during the drift session, but during the drift taxi. And dude, it was kind of fucking fast. And actually, we're making it a track car for Polecat.
The E36.
Yeah.
Yes, you were mentioning that. Why did y'all decide to?
Well, I
make
don't really
that
love it
car
as a
a
drift
track
car. I didn't like how my ZN6 drifts so damn good, and I feel so much more comfortable in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just more suited for the driving style that I like aggressive, like really rapid transition. E36 is obviously great. I was one of the early adopters. I've been drifting it since like 2014, but it's gotten very popular in comp. But it's just the way the dynamic of the car is. It can be very grippy and all that, but it's just it's harder to do like really aggressive feint transitions. You'll notice that not many of them do that. And I can't really explain like why. Maybe front rack mixed with like the dynamic of that rear suspension, like trailing arm and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just, and it could come down to personal preference. I just like the ZN6, the way it drives more. But yeah, I mean, the E36 couldn't be set up more, but it's not, I don't like how it drifts. And so
Plus, it's got a ton of power, so it's going to be really fast.
yeah, it's
That's
gonna
gonna
be
be-
cool.
that's
Plus,
gonna
it's
be a
gonna be
lot
cool
of
as shit. But it's there's reasons we've changed some parts on it, like some of the front angle kit and stuff like that, to make it drive a little bit better. But yeah, it's just I like the ZN6 more, so I'd rather have that as a drift car. But when I tracked it at Gingerman, like even with a drift setup, and I don't run like parallel steering, I run like basically 2 settings away from that.
Yeah.
But not like track car or street car style. Like it still has a little bit of, what would that be, positive, negative Ackerman?
Yeah.
But yeah, it drove pretty damn good. Like braking was incredible, turn-ins incredible. Drift cars in the middle, like basically exit of the turn is when they really start to like drift because of the steering and because of the alignment. Like they're basically like the tires are doing this.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so because you run negative camber in a track car, but when you have zero camber, it's going to go out the other way.
Right.
Yeah, you've been behind me, and
Yeah.
the car, like, dude, braking and turn ins like fucking incredible. Like the compliance in the front end
Yeah.
is because basically the front end's kind of what's working here, and then halfway through the turn is when like it kind of balances out, and maybe the rear needs to do more work.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so drift cars are set up very well on the front end, usually even in a track setting, minus the Ackerman. But yeah, tracking it at Gingerman, I'm like, let's make this a fucking track car. I don't really love drifting
Well,
it.
you've got plenty of drift cars. I mean,
True.
It's like how many different cars can you drift and why not? Because he's only been gripping the GR86, the S2000, and we were going to grip the R34, but he had something else to do.
Nice
But
of a car.
yeah, it is too nice of a car. So like, why not? You know, it's got
Well, I think too is that
a gazillion horsepower and
yeah, I think
no
also
ABS.
is the just mentioning how, and I keep like getting sidetracked. That's just who I am. But the drifters being interested in road racing, like when you're gripping a track and you're going fast as shit, you're like, dude, this is pretty fucking fun. Because
Yeah.
I'm used to drifting. Like even when you're drifting 60 miles an hour, it can feel not that fast. Like
Yeah.
like not even entering at 60 because that's a little easier. But like when you're like Lime Rock or Road America, where you're in drift and you're going 60, 70 miles an hour, it doesn't really feel that fast sometimes.
I could see that.
It's like, but when you're at Mid-Ohio and you look down, you go, dude, I'm going 130. And then you hit the brakes as hard as you can. That's when you really feel the speed.
Yeah.
And so you're like, dude, this is pretty fucking fun. So when you do that, if you have a drift car and you're doing that, you're like, damn, this is awesome. So I think I wanted
Makes
to.
me want to experience it so bad.
Dude,
now.
you should.
Well, I think so. For Polecat, I kind of want to show people, if people care, how easily you could change over. So we got a new angle kit for the front that can go back to like normal track car steering or like street car steering on Ackerman.
Yeah.
And when I want to go back to drift, it's a better steering kit anyways, if I wanted to drift it again. But all we're changing is Ackerman, tires, of course, and alignment.
yeah.
Well, and we're going to have a full track alignment, which is easy.
Yeah.
Ackerman, and then
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
and then of course tires. The rear tire is going to stay the same, but we want a bigger tire, like basically square setup. So instead of like a 225 and 265 rear,
Right.
it would be 265 or 255 all around or something. But I want to do ride-alongs with drift guys because I'll be able to get out around the track just fine and like
Yeah.
be pretty fast because I can get a good lap time. And yeah, I want to show like this is like how fucking fast our drift cars are with just 3 changes. Because
I'd be down.
I forgot his name, but that guy with the white E36 just drag raced his car, and he ran like a 10-1 or something.
Who's this?
He's at a lot of the Gridlifes, and he was at Final Bout. It's a white E36 sedan. It's turbo M52, I believe. But dude, that doesn't surprise me. I think the E36, if we set it up, would run like fucking around the same.
That's the thing is like y'all's cars are all pretty like make a ton of power, right? Yeah. So the only reason why it doesn't seem that way is because you're sideways all the time. And I mean, this is a real track, right? So Polecat is a real racetrack where you're going to generate a shitload of speed, and
the brakes are going to. We got on our drivers meeting.
Roasted.
We want a lot of drifters to like go out during the track.
Good
sessions.
brake fluid, good brake pads, because if you
boil them, you won't have brakes.
Yeah, I mean the pedal going to the floor is something I'm too familiar with, which hasn't happened this year, which has been great.
Thanks, Chase Bays.
Yeah, thanks,
Dual
Chase
piston brake
Bays.
booster delete with a bolt-on 6-to-1 pedal ratio.
Plug it.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know what to do in those situations, but you know,
rip the handbrake and go drifting.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like
if you lose brakes, just.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can slow it down that way, but yeah, I mean, the brake fade is going to be crazy if you just got like a normal, you know, pad that you used on the go-kart track or whatever. The first braking zone you enter, it'll feel good initially, and that thing will generate heat so quick it'll boil your brake fluid. So you won't RBF 600 or 660. I like Castrol SRF. It's kind of expensive. But I like Castrol SRF, and then you want a decent brake pad. I mean,
we need to start sending out emails to everybody.
Yeah. Because that's
just
one thing
to help them set up. I think it'll be cool
absolutely.
to like expose the weaknesses of a drift car too, because you'll find out where. And by design, I mean, if you have like a drift alignment, the car is going to wobble a little bit where it's not supposed to, just because there's no aero and all that. But like, I don't know. I just think it's going to be cool. I hope that we can get the car working decently, and I can give some drifters like ride-alongs and a drift car turned into a track car.
Yeah,
it'd be cool.
It'll be cool to see it at Polecat too.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Because it'll be loud.
Yeah.
What else we got?
All right.
I guess are we nearing the end?
We've gone through quite a bit. So
okay.
What do y'all have planned this coming year? Like what?
Shit.
That's a good question.
Is there any crazy parts we can expect, or do we plan on doing multiple of these events?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Good question. So we're finally releasing a lot of our oil cooler kits. So that's like full plug and play, like stuff that they don't even make, you know, that nobody makes a product for, like a S13, S14, 15 with a JZ, and it would be bracketed with an oil sandwich adapter with our lines, and like sometimes with a duct and everything. But like for all the popular chassis, E36, E46, S chassis, ZN6 and GR86, and then for all the popular swaps. So that's going to be cool.
Nice.
Easy install catch can kits. One of the bigger problems I see is like people blowing out their dipstick and all that. So we want to have, I mean, we already have it, we're releasing it soon, is a bracket, catch can, and then push on hose. So like a high end like Gates hose, to where you could install it. Like you don't have to put in any AN adapters or anything. Yeah. You could install it and have proper like ventilation in your system, and no crankcase pressure, which is obviously terrible and can blow your engine and obviously blows your dipstick out. That's a bad sign. To where you
mainly seeing that in LSs, right?
LSs and SRs are really bad about it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Very bad about it. So if you have an easy install catch can, you could have, put it onto the track, or like, it's just something that you don't want to fool with, and we'll make the AN version too, with like where you knock out those kind of brass looking adapters in the valve cover and you put the other ones in, like for RB and all that. But that's a big one. Tilton delay valve, flow control valve clutch lines for everything. So that's something that I'm sure you've seen pop up a lot.
Yeah.
It is a incredible modification because basically it delays it like milliseconds, to where when you let out the clutch, you feel it kind of like come up slower, but it's still like when you clutch kick, it still like puts the power to the ground, but it spreads it out instead of like a split second. It spreads it out into like kind of milliseconds, to where it doesn't put as much drivetrain shock. So it kind of distributes the load.
Okay.
So when you do that, like a lot of people will stop breaking axles, diffs, trans, and all that. And it's a very common thing. I mean, NASCAR runs them, like IMSA car, like most legitimate track cars run them. And then people in drifting have finally started kind of like waking up to it. And we've run one for years and all that, and we've offered it, and people are like,
I've heard people go back and forth on those and how well they actually help for drifting and stuff, but I just think it's
they definitely help. I mean,
now.
I used to break axles on my ZN6 and I just suddenly stopped. And it's not like a guarantee. We have to have like a disclaimer, like you can still break shit, but this factually makes it easier. So it's a pretty simple product. I mean, Tilton's like a proven brand, and we already make clutch, like our one-piece clutch lines, which are very popular, and we just find a good spot to put it, whether it's halfway or 3/4 down or something, and then we just put 2 straights on it, and it's a tiny. It looks like just a thick 3A in Union. Clutch Masters makes like a big box one, but they're hard to mount and they're just not as good. The Tilton one works better, and it has 3 orifices for like bigger or smaller, but you pretty much run the biggest one in a drift car. But you feel it in your foot, like you know it's working, because when you clutch kick, like if normally it comes up like this, there's kind of a delay. Like you feel the delay in your foot. It takes a couple. You're like, oh, that's weird.
You probably have to. You got to feel that to even understand what you're talking about.
But I'm saying the first time you do it, you think something's wrong, but it's not. So that's gonna be big, and we hope that can help solve a lot of problems. There's a lot of like random doodads. RB drain, back of cylinder head drain. The head drain, yeah,
nice.
we made that. And some people just make them.
I still have yet to put one on mine.
Dude, let me get you one before you leave.
Okay.
But we're going to include everything, like BMRS, hose ends, hose and everything, fire sleeve, the adapter for the block. Because the RBs, they have there's 2 places you could put it, technically. You know, like RB25.
I think so, yeah.
RB25 has the drain in the middle, but they have on the left side, like where the AC compressor goes, there's like a square Allen or MPT, well, technically BSPT plug, and that's where we're going to put it. And so if people have twin turbo, we'll probably just sell like a big T adapter to where they could have everything. But yeah, most people are single turbo, so it would go in the front one since everybody runs the middle one. So that's pretty cool. I mean, so many little
Corvette stuff, like a bunch of products for C5, C6.
Yep, C5, C6 products, tons of ZN6 stuff. And when I say that, that means like FRS BRZ.
Yeah. ZN6, ZN8.
ZN8, yeah. Most stuff that fits the ZN6 fits the new GR. R34 stuff, which includes 32, 33. And then in terms of like what we're doing next year, so we ran a K24 in our GLTC car this year. We're taking that out, and it's a great engine, but it vibrates too much. It's very unbalanced. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah.
So we did some stuff, like the fulcrum's really bad on them because you mount them, like if this is the engine, the rear wheel drive mounts go on the bottom. So you make like a breaker bar basically that vibrates more.
Yep.
Whereas front wheel drive, if you look, the mounts are like at the cylinder head. So we put an engine damper, and we're going to make this a product, by the way. It's like an engine damper like you see on like SRs, like JDM cars and stuff.
Yeah.
So we put an engine damper on it, like where the front wheel drive mount goes. And that made a massive difference.
No way.
The engine, we figured out we haven't talked about it, but we figured out another way to be competitive in GLTC and make more power lower that doesn't give us any modifiers, which just means like
modifiers being like a penalty, right?
Yeah.
So like there's like a percent modifier, you do certain things, and there's a math formula. So if you add a percent or subtract a percent,
you'd have to add weight, right?
Yeah, it's
or decrease power.
What is it in golf? Your
balance of mulligan, not a
yeah,
mulligan,
not mulligan.
handicap.
Your handicap, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a handicap.
Yeah, so like if you made 220 horsepower, but you had a 2.4 liter instead of a 2.0 liter, I don't know this math, so don't quote me on this, but you would have to like add weight to make it more equal power.
Yeah, it's called BOP, balance performance.
Yeah, so we have a new engine going in that will be turbo, but won't. Turbo has how many points?
I don't think any, as long as you don't have a flat power curve.
Okay, so we figured out basically like a way to make like 50 more horsepower, 40 more horsepower where it counts than the K24, and we won't have to deal with vibration issues. Because dude, we broke exhaust, we broke everything. The shifter.
Yeah, y'all went through.
Yeah, you watched the series.
Exhaust
it
stuff.
rattled so much that it faulted the motor mounts and shot through our it moved so much that we couldn't shift. That's why we were misshifting in Mid-Ohio. It's terrible.
The
man.
engine literally pushed against. That's why the hood flew up. So when the hood flew up, it literally, dude.
And people are in denial, dude. It's kind of crazy. And like Andy Schmedgard from ASM, he runs like a ton of GLTC cars.
Yeah.
He has the white and red FRS with the LS that drifts. He was doing 360s at Gingerman.
He is very smart.
Very good driver, very good builder too. So he's actually ditching the K24 too. It's funny because we started talking about it at the same time, and he's like, dude, we're doing the same thing. So and he trusts us, we trust him. He's a good builder, smart guy. But yeah, it's funny because people are in denial about the K24, and I love K24s. I'm like OG Honda guy, but they fit better in the front wheel drive. Like they're better braced up high, and rear wheel drive, we're like, when you look at it, it kind of doesn't make any sense. But people are in denial. They're like, dude, K24 is the best engine. It's like, well, what happened the last round? Like, well, my exhaust fell off. It's like, that doesn't happen to most people. And then they're like, dude, you can't do that. That's not a proven platform. And then they blow their K24, like literally that race. So, I mean, it's just weird that K24 has like become the engine of GLTC. But when you look at like data and you're like, you've missed 3 races because of the engine. You've done this, and it's not even because the engine blows up necessarily. It's like, it just vibrates.
All the problems that
so
come.
much other shit around it.
So anyways, so we've got a cool plan there. And we probably won't run a full season of GLTC. We want to do like 24-hour races with Champ Car. And we're going to have like YouTubers come drive with us, like celebrity drivers kind of. I feel weird saying that because they're our friends, but they're well known.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to have like, it'll be me, Brian, and then say like, Vin from Driver's Era used to be from Hoonigan, so he's going to come drive with us on like a 24-hour race, and then we'll have another guy in the next one, and then
dude, that could be a whole like content series.
So it'll be road. It'll be called Road to Thunderhill.
Yeah. So
we'll
we'll talk about who all is going to drive with us, I guess, later, just once everything.
Yeah, we'll talk about later, but
Vin
Vin
confirmed.
for sure.
But like Vin's for sure, he's in, and there's some other guys that are for sure in, but I just don't want to speak on their behalf, I guess.
Yeah.
But so we're basically. They want to come do some road racing, so we're building another ZN6 specifically for Champ Car. And Champ Car is it's a really cool grassroots series like endurance racing. You literally could have 0 track experience. You go to their driver school your first weekend, and you're technically, I guess, kind of on probation. You got to, not bang into people and stuff like that. But you go straight to the track, and it's like, I mean, we race for. They do like split 8s where you do 8 hours Saturday, 8 hours Sunday, or 14 hours at Daytona, or 24 hours at VIR. We're going to do.
We want to do like the 14-hour consecutive.
Yeah, we want to do some of the big ones. So we want to.
And by the way, so each driver does 2 hours.
Yeah, you can. It's a maximum of 2 hours, and then you have to do a driver change. But we want to do that, so we decided not to run a full season of GLTC, so we could also do that because we just don't want to be over leveraged. Because we got that, we've got Final Bout, we've got. Gridlife Champ Car Final Bout. If we go to Japan, then we go to Japan. We've talked about I don't want to speak too early, but we've talked about possibly looking into doing stuff in Germany. That probably won't be this coming year. Maybe it will.
Sounds like we have this unlimited budget, but it's like
we're trying.
It's give and take because instead of running like a full season of GLTC like we did last year or this year, we're gonna like just do like the fun one, like the top 2 or 3 ones.
Yeah. So, and then it's like some of those things are more on the idea table, and then the things that are not on the idea table and that we are doing for sure is going to be the Champ Car endurance stuff and a handful of GLTC races. So those things are for sure, and then obviously Final Bout.
Yeah. I feel like that's I lost touch with like driving for a long time because, I started this and I was into, Hondas and I loved the building aspect, but then I went to the track in California and I like fell in love. Did that for a while, but then it was just, struggle bus because I couldn't get my head above water just because we weren't profitable. But then we became profitable and I drifted like twice a month for years, my E36. And then I stopped in like 2000, I think late 18 or 19, just kind of got like jaded on it and burnt out on some of it. And then, I don't know, it's like I woke up one day and was like, what am I doing? Like, I should be driving, And so we kind of went in hard like 2 years ago. And
it's just,
it makes it all make sense. It proves the product. It's fun to like make new friends and meet people and hang out with them. But it's fun, man. And if I can provide value for the company, if we can provide value.
What's interesting too is a lot of people I noticed were throughout the year were like, oh man, glad to see you started drifting, Chase. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh yeah.
I was like, wait, what? I was like, because it's like when he took a break for like a few years, it's almost like people completely forgot.
Yeah.
And for good
and
reason.
you bring
look
on
at
the
it.
whole new crowd that doesn't even know too.
No one heard my
so,
joke.
like,
Well,
I said for good reason. Look at him.
Yeah, look at him.
But
I interrupted you.
I'm almost to that. I think I'm to that point this
Where
year
people just
I
forget?
might like set the car aside just for a year.
But then people are going to forget about you. I'm just kidding. No, but you know what I mean?
No, I know. Well, I
Yeah,
have.
it was-
I've got my own ideas to keep
Sure.
myself in there. But
It was just interesting because it was.
Yeah, you heard that a lot. People
was
were like,
weird for me to
like,
see.
when did you start driving so damn aggressive? And I'm like, in 2015.
Yeah, so I saw that didn't happen this year. It was like last year, and it was
was earlier this year.
Was it this
Is
year?
it
I don't know.
Texas?
It all kind of runs into one day, you know. But I thought that was interesting because it for me. I mean, we've been going to the track since forever ago, right? And especially like the Mid Pond days, man. We felt like we were there every weekend and grilling out and drifting and stuff. So it was weird at first, but I mean, obviously
Makes sense though. I mean, they forget about you.
Well, I guess also, actually, there is. I don't know what else to say about that.
Well,
Like
I would still be at events and
Yeah.
I would still probably bring the car. It just
You're
wouldn't
driving,
be my main
but you're gonna
focus. You know,
You're gonna drive the Polecat event though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
that's all we care about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
fuck
can do whatever you
everything
want
else,
after
you know?
that, dude. But we
Well,
need you
no,
to drive the event.
The last question was, are we going to do more of these events? I'd love to. I'd love to do
Yeah.
2 a year. And I'd like for Polecat to kind of be our home because we really like JR. and
Yeah,
the
he's
owner.
awesome.
They've been really accommodating, and the track is, I don't know, man. It's got to be my favorite track in America.
Have you driven there?
Maybe in the
No,
world.
dude, it's
It's sick.
insane. Now I live so close, yet I've never even seen the track in person. Like,
You know, Mid
I
Pond.
want to talk to him too, because like I would like to come do an episode with him and hear the backstory behind that place.
Yeah,
Dude,
There's
he-
got to
You got
be
to
a
break him out of the
story
shell.
to it.
Give him a
Dude.
Modelo or two.
Yeah, he is. Dude, he's so cool though.
He's cool, dude.
I mean, he's been so accommodating for us. He's been.
That's awesome.
I don't know. He just seems like one of the boys. You know what I mean? Like he's just kind of. We're like, can we do this? He's like, yeah, I don't care. It's fine. Whatever you want.
It's
I'm
You
like,
get
cool,
that
man.
out of road courses anymore. It
What's
seems.
that?
You never get that owner out of a road
Well, that's what's
course
cool.
anymore.
It's so relatively young track. I think 6
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Road Atlanta's like 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, it's
You know, Barber is relatively young. And it was built in 2000.
2000, yeah. So
Yeah.
still 24, 25
So like
years
Road
old.
America, Road Atlanta, Lime Rock, all these places have been there for a long time, like
Yeah.
longer than we've all been alive. So when you have a track like Polecat that pops up, that's a legitimate road course that has more, I don't know what to call it, like more features, more fun features about it that other tracks don't, like the foliage, like all the trees and all
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
That's gonna be cool November
Yeah,
30th. When
it's-
it's like fully fall, it's gonna be
I'm
awesome.
ready to see it.
It's a cool
But
experience.
you know how Mid Pond, like people love it because it flows, because you can kind of drift full course like pretty easily.
Yeah, just
But there's some
nonstop.
parts that you really have to kind of park it, like the middle, like the horseshoe. It's tough to run it smooth, and most tracks have something like that. Like US Air has like a park it section, or like you come from a really tight turn and you have to really stretch it
Yeah.
out and like do this a little bit to keep your car at angle. You know what I mean? Do a handbrake drag, whatever it is. Like a lot of tracks have a spot where it doesn't flow. Polecat flows from start to finish. It's fucking bananas. Like from turn 1 on, you can drift full course in third gear, depending on your gearing. But most people, like, you can stay in third gear the whole time. You'll keep it high in the RPM range. If you have like pretty much 300 horsepower or more, you can drift full course. I mean, if your car won't heat up or tires won't burn out,
Yeah.
you can drift
Right.
full course from like the beginning of the front straight to the end of the front straight. You can do full course, and it flows.
That's pretty wild.
Dude. It is. It's like they designed it for us, and they didn't even mean to.
It's going to be fun.
It's gonna be
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
Not to mention, like you've seen the hill, like the drop videos, like 120-foot
Yeah,
drop. on
all
that
the
one turn.
elevation change. That's my favorite part of even road racing.
That's
is
what
tracks
one of the
with big
questions I was
elevation.
going to ask is the elevation change look even better? Is it better in person? Because
Oh,
it
it's
looks
all, dude. All
insane on camera.
All tracks
already,
are
so-
always better in person. Like
Yeah, exactly.
when you drop off of 11 at Road Atlanta, like when you're
in the car, you don't really realize.
Yeah,
it.
you
like
don't-
at the S's at Road Atlanta, you don't
staring
realize
at that thing though.
right.
Holy
But yeah,
shit.
it's awesome. Polecat. I didn't get to run. When we did the promotional stuff, I didn't get to run as many laps as I wanted to, which is all good. But from what I gathered, it's gonna be a fun lap.
In a track car, you'll be very busy.
Yeah, like the front straightaway is you have this quick like little kink in it, and dude, you send it in, and it's
It is
kind
a very
yeah, it's kind of
dude.
sketchy, and
well, it's a big straight too. Like I
Yeah.
think, what do you think the GLTC car got to?
probably 130 something
Dude,
like
it's
that,
fucking
buck
fast.
30.
And you go into not like a full braking zone. It's like
it's like
S's.
it's like a quick like lift.
Do you start from the left? You don't
No,
track
no, no,
in from the right.
No,
You
I
do?
start on the right and try to like shoot in at first. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We're gonna send
It was
again
tough.
Stay
somehow.
tuned.
When we did the promotional video, we segmented the track.
Yeah.
And then we, it was me, Rolando, and Hurt, and we did full course a couple times, but we didn't get it really on camera.
I had a hard time doing it because I couldn't get any heat in the tires because we would shoot a section and then stop. So I never had an opportunity to like.
Well, and when you did the wheel bearing.
Oh yeah, I forgot the wheel bearing. Our left front wheel bearing was failed, so it was just like flopping around. Like I said, road race cars, all that shit matters.
Dude, and by the way, K24 like vibrated not just the engine and exhaust. Like we had like rear diff and axle would like rattle loose. Wheel bearing.
Wheel bearing. The left front was missing 2 bolts. The axle bolts were loose. The subframe bolts were loose after Lime Rock in one weekend.
There's something crazy too. It's a cool dynamic with us because we both can get so into the nuts and bolts of the car that we'll adapt. Yeah. And then when I can get into the car he's driving, I'm like, dude, something's fucking wrong.
Right,
and then he's like, no, that's normal. I'm like, no. I promise
you it's not.
I started up the GLTC car, and then I drove it, and I was like, oh my God, something's fucking wrong. I've driven like 700 horsepower solid mount LSs with the craziest cams, and it didn't vibrate this much, dude. The car was like, wow, like the dash was like vibrating out. I'm like, dude, we got to fix this. He's like, that's just what it does. I'm like, no, dude.
I just got
and he
used
does the
to
same
it.
to me. Like he'll get in my car, and I'm like, no, that's just normal. It's just, and he's like, no, dude, we got to fix this.
Yeah, it's
And that's when I decided we got to remove the engine.
K-Series is gone, dude.
Yeah, great engine.
Get it out.
It'll work great in one of those Civics out there, you know.
There you go.
What else we got? Anything?
Yeah, so I guess, well, actually, how much are the spectator tickets? Just so I haven't.
I don't even know.
that.
Good question. So
Just so people can
not
know.
that. Let me just get it officially.
Yeah.
You can clip.
Cool. I only got 3 questions after that.
The driver spot. I mean the spectator spots. So we have 3 things. We have weekend spectator early entry. So that's for the whole weekend, right? But
Plus Friday.
But you get to come in Friday. So when everybody's loading in and it's more chill, you can show up early and get a good day out of it.
Walk around,
yeah,
get better shots.
Yeah, get better
you're just a
shots.
spectator.
Talk to your favorite drivers. Because dude, we have like a hell of a drivers list. I'll pull it up before we go. So that's
Do you
6.
have it like on a list?
I do. Yeah, we'll send it to you.
just throw it up.
So that's $60. The weekend spectator just for why won't it let me scroll? For both days is $40.
Okay.
And then each day is $25. So that's
Easy peasy.
We basically went at or below like what we found was average. Because I mean, Gridlife's like $80 or something.
I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye at those prices.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
normal to me.
And then we've got great media guys, and then
Got food trucks. We got
awesome food trucks. And you know the area, you're 30 minutes from there. Beautiful area. And you know they've had problems with some of the other.
Don't be stupid going there.
Right.
There's
Well, that's what I was
beautiful
saying.
back roads on the way there.
Yeah, we
It's
wanna-
really important to us that everybody
Behave.
no noise after 6. We're gonna go hard like in the drivers meeting because we really respect Polecat and we really are appreciative that we can go there and we really want to keep going there. So no noise at all after 6 p.m. They have neighbors, but they're not like the Lime Rock neighbors. They want to be like they're positive. You know, we've talked to JR about them, and they're like, you know, they had some people revving. And then they're like, come on, man, like, it's 10 o'clock. We're trying to sleep. Like, we want to work with you, but you're not making this easy.
Yep.
Whereas the people in Lime Rock are like, F you, we're calling the EPA, you're done.
Yeah.
So they're cool, and we want to make them happy. And so we want to, you know, nobody that goes, please just don't do anything stupid.
Don't be the guy that ruins it for everybody.
Yeah, and to your point about like even showing up, like let's show these guys that we're not
Yes.
the street takeover people. Let's show them that we can be respectful, keep it on the track, and I don't know, just it's a good representation for because that's what'll help. Everything we've just discussed over how long we've been here boils back down to that. Like it's got to start somewhere, so it does start with the people, right? So
Yeah.
if we can show them,
Do your part.
Yeah.
Well, we're
do
goofy,
more.
and we've been goofy today, but ultimately we're professional, and I would love the opportunity to hopefully meet some of the neighbors and say, hey, here's what we're about. You know,
Yeah.
like we do some renegade stuff, but we're also in like very high-end motorsports, and there's a lot of, you know, high-end sponsors that we have to behave and be professional, you know. And,
Yeah.
And, you know, I get it, dude. Where I live, I don't want to hear revving at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I have a son who is sleeping. So, I mean, I totally understand. Like, they're not, like, a lot of these people are not being unreasonable, you know?
Yeah.
The people in Lime Rock are.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, we've got such a solid driver's list. I mean, almost everybody on the list is legit, but we've got Hurt, of course, from Nappy Boy, Jimmy Oaks, Tom and Josh of Front Street Club. We've got Simba, Lee, Josh, and Shaw of Team Proceed, and they're from Final. You know, Simba runs Final Belt. Grant Anderson, Instagrant. We've got Duarte, Savio, Donnie, Sean, Chris, and Lee of Drift HQ. You've had a couple of them on your podcast, yeah. We've got Sebastian, Greg, and Ryan from Cora Works. You've had them on the podcast.
Boys.
Jimmy Yates of Knuckle Up, Top Garage Crew from Georgia, like Chris Ward and all them. Steve Angerman, Rich Whiteman, Good Feeling Crew, if you're familiar with them. Connor, Zach, and Nick. Dustin, Damon, and Nate of English Tune. Micah Diaz just bought his JZX100, or Getaway Crew in Final Bout. Michael and John Vargas of Angel Motorsports, who's the Rotary guys. They used to be on Hoonigan a lot. Mike Martino, Design Shop React.
Oh, yeah, I was talking to him. He's going to stop by and do a podcast.
Really?
Yeah, he's the one who did my livery.
Really? Yeah. He's awesome, dude.
I love Mike.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's a great designer.
Amazing.
And you got Andrew and Diego of Drift Things. They do Trip to the Pond.
Yeah.
Dude, we've had more people that just submitted stuff that are even, you know, just the same level of rippers. Yeah. So, man, I'm so excited.
And I'm going to be there.
Yeah, Brian will be there. I won't.
We're not worried. No.
I won't be there. I mean, unfortunately, I will miss it. So, I got to
I have something else
Wouldn't
planned.
that be a shitty situation?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, well, we'll start wrapping this up then.
Gotcha.
If you could build just the best seat time car possible, doesn't necessarily matter the budget, what car would it be for one, and what parts would you get off in Juku to, build it?
So I've been a big advocate of the ZN6 platform.
Okay.
That's the 8.6 FRS BRZ. And the reason is that, so they kind of show up underpowered, right? Which doesn't really matter. It's all power to weight. But they kind of show up underpowered. And again, most cars do. Like KA24 and an S13, S14 the same way. The E36 and the 350Z has really good power to weight. But the reason I like the ZN6 is because it can evolve into something that has a lot of legacy. And people are always looking for the S chassis like replacement, and you'll never have that, right? Because the S chassis is the S chassis, right? It's like the
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think the ZN6 is the one that can kind of come close, is because it's got incredible aesthetic style, very similar front and rear suspension design. Front suspension design is very similar to S chassis. Rear is more like a JZX100 or IS300, but they're both A-arm and 3 links. You can get insane rear grip out of them with an arm drop, but aesthetically, they can be, beautiful and something that kind of is that same design language as the S chassis. So I think it's just something that somebody can grow into quite well. And so you said unlimited budget, or what was it?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily matter, but
Okay.
you're building a seat time car.
Seat time car, okay. So I mean, it's the same thing I started out with when I got my, now like the drift car that's 400 horsepower now that I love driving. At first, all it was coilovers, COS 2A, and a lot of people really like welded, but I think a 2A isn't that much money. It's so good. It maintains drivability of the car, and again, it's something that you can like grow into, right? And the welded diff, people eventually ditch because they want to do like reverse entries or like aggressive driving and stuff like that. So coilovers, COS 2A. The stock handbrake's pretty good, but obviously you want to get the chase base handbrake. It's funny because last time I said the same thing, and the way it was clipped, like you don't need a handbrake. It's like, all right, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's those two. Oh, of course, a bucket seat. So like a really good Bride or Recaro or something like that. Not a cheap Alibaba seat, please.
Yes, don't do that.
Yeah. And then if this is like real format, I'll try to clean it up. So I think the ZN6 is like a great platform for drifting because it's aesthetically pleasing, and it's something that you can grow into. You can get incredible rear grip. It's got similar dynamic of S chassis, similar front suspension and rear suspension design. Rear suspension similar to JZX100. Great mods for it. Just obviously coilovers, something like a COS 2A, something that you can grow into and have more car control over a welded.
Yeah.
Obviously a bucket seat like a Bride or Recaro. Handbrake is the stock one's good, but it kind of sits far back. So Chase Bays makes a bolt-in bracket and everything, so you could get that. That's a great starting point. You don't even need to do anything to the engine. And if you do, what I did, I had just that for a while. Then I got a Part Shop Max front angle kit. The reason I like that is because it's not that wide. And then with like 17 by 7 or 7.5, you can fit a 215 or 225 on it, which is plenty of front tire. And you can go full lock without hitting the frame rail. And you can keep stock fender. Like I still have stock fenders on my drift car. So there's a lot of room there. And the PBM angle kit, it just doesn't like stretch it out a shitload like some of the other ones. And then after that, like just drive the car. And then once you like level up and you can like rip with that HKS or JDL turbo kit and a Link ECU, dude, that thing will...
Hey, I second the ECU.
Yeah.
That was one of the best things I ever did to my car.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the problems with the ZN6 chassis early on was a bad tuning solution. So they had ECU Tech, which is a fine tuning solution, but it's like a reflash. And all the there's not a lot of good tuners for that. So they got a bad rap, the FA20 Flat 4 did. It's actually an incredibly balanced engine, and like you can make really good power, like knowing your limits, just like SRs and everything else. Knowing your limit, you can make really good power on them safely. They're really, really good engines, and you pretty much just the Link ECU, like full plug and play that they made, is like game changer. It's like the RB or the 13B where nobody paid attention to them, but then you see people in Australia like fucking killing it with the rotaries and RBs.
Shit out of them.
Right, and it was all like, it's all just prep and planning. So mainly it was a tuning solution.
Yeah.
People weren't running the right fuel. So I mean, if you have an FA20 and you're running like E85 and a proper tuning solution with a turbo kit, you'll be good. So that to me is like my favorite seat time car right now, and what I'm recommending to everybody, just because they can grow into it. It has a great legacy already. It has GR Cup. It's won D1 over and over. It's killing it in FD. I mean, it's just such an established.
It's a proven chassis already, which hasn't been around that long.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hell yeah. What you got?
I would probably say for the grip side of things, I'm going with either.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna say the same thing, but
I was like, it's hard. I was trying to find something else besides the ZN6, but
well, it's the the GR86.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not gonna answer for him.
Yeah, he's answering for me right
We've
now.
just been raving about it.
I can't help myself.
We don't want to give the same answer for both cars.
Well, I was trying to pick a different car, but
it's just so damn good.
I would say a ZN6 or a Miata. I mean, for like a grip car. I mean, because Miatas are pretty cheap. The one place that they kind of lack is they'll never make a lot of power, which is fine. I think the ZN6 makes enough power that's still low power and not high power, and you can extract a lot of it. So if it's me, I'm going ZN6. I'm getting online. I'm going straight like coilovers, decent brake pads, maybe a brake caliper upgrade, drop the arm in the rear, and then go into the track. That and a bucket seat, obviously, and some harnesses or something like that.
Same with stock LSD, kind of, it works well enough.
Oh yeah, I would leave the stock LSD for grip driving at first, just because that's enough stuff to extract what you need from the car. And then once the car becomes a limiting factor and why you can't go faster, then you can start upgrading.
Hell yeah.
Damn, I couldn't pick something else. I was trying to think. I couldn't.
I kind of figured that's the chassis I would land on.
Well, it's the GR86. The new one is so damn
it's
good.
so good.
Like, they got a bad rap too because they have so much lateral acceleration that people were tracking them with like proper tires and alignment, and they're so damn grippy that the oil sloshes out and the engine blow up. So it's like all you need is an oil pan baffle, and the same problem happens with the Corvettes. Like Corvettes, if you go and track one, it'll fucking blow up because they're so grippy. So
I love and hate LSs.
Yeah, I know. The GR86, the new FA24, like flat 4. I never thought I'd be like a flat engine guy, but dude, it is.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. They're like they make K24s look stupid because they don't vibrate like they did, like K24s.
Yours sounds sick. It sounds like an SR20 kind of.
Yeah, well, we don't like the unequal length. With the equal length, like 4.21 header, overpipe exhaust, intake, and then like an ethanol tune. They're making 250 horsepower NA.
Yeah.
And 200 torque.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I know. So you do like intake, header, exhaust, and tires, and they go track them without an oil pan baffle, and they're like, these engines suck, they blow up. It's like, dude, you know how fast you're going?
Why?
Yeah. So that's just oil pan baffle. Any car should have
Gotcha.
that.
Hell yeah.
I know I answered his question too, but
No, you
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I had my moment to shine, and you took it from me.
well, go ahead.
I'm
Go
done.
again.
Well, here's another moment. What is your well, for you, it'd be grip racing, but what is your best piece of advice for anyone just getting into drifting and grip driving?
You answer yours first.
No, you got to answer the other one. You get to.
No, I want to steal the moment from you, though.
Oh, you want to steal my
No.
moment?
I would think.
No, you can steal it. Then I'll give it a shot. So, guys, this is a really important what I'm about to say, and I really want everybody to just listen up because what I'm about to say is extremely important. You know, if I gave advice to somebody who was drifting, then here's what I would say. I would say this. Aren't you going to interrupt me?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was not following. I was just laughing at you. This is going to take forever to close this out.
I know.
Well, you're the drifter, so I mean.
Oh, okay.
But
you said you were going to steal my moment, so
Yeah,
I wanted to
I know.
help. I'm a good friend, and I wanted to
But,
help.
thought about it.
but you ruined it yourself, so it was good for me.
Cool. All right. Thanks. It's a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll say something stupid. Piece of advice. I think I hate to say the same thing that everybody says, but I like to keep it simple. But I really don't. I don't like the underpowered no handbrake life because you can't rip like that. You know, like the people that are like underpowered handbrake life. You watch them drift, and I'm sure they're having a lot of fun, but it doesn't look very exciting for spectators. And they certainly can't keep up with people who do build their cars to a certain level. I think the best balance. The piece of advice is just to do it in stages. You know, everybody wants to overbuild their cars immediately.
Yeah.
And if I were to be somebody's advisor, I would say, like I mentioned with the ZN6, just do it in stages. You know, get the basics, go drift. Even with somebody who's experienced but getting into a new chassis, you know, like I had been drifting for 10 years when I got back into a ZN6 and from the E36, and I just kept it simple. I did coilover seat, two-way, and angle kit, and I drifted that for a while just to adapt to the chassis. You get to know it, what the dynamics are, how it transitions, and all that. I think it's just a lot of it's suspension over design that people do. You usually don't need all those rear arms. You usually can get away with just camber and toe adjustments. A lot of that stuff doesn't matter. On a ZN6, one of the most important things, I know I'm side rail, but like the grip adjustments are usually worth the money. So on ZN6, they have a weirdly placed forward traction arm, and then GP Sports makes a drop kit that gives it proper geometry to where it doesn't toe out a lot. S-Chassis
cool,
do the same. Yeah, S-Chassis do the same thing. That's why people do S14 subframes, or why people like the S15 more, because the S13 has an arm that goes too high and they sit at an angle, so they toe out and camber in a lot. So that's keeping it simple though. Get the GP Sports drop kit and whatever chassis it applies to, but that's try to keep it simple. You just need angle kit, two arms in the back, and then just kind of focus on power. It takes so long for you to be able to need the mechanical grip that those rear grip kits offer. Stock cars typically, for instance, the ZN6, I have 2 stock arms and 2 aftermarket arms, and then I have the GP Sports arm drop kit, which it's a stock arm, but it just moves it down for proper geometry. Dude, I have so much rear grip that you've got pro spec guys who are like, dude, you have way too much grip. So mechanical grip.
I agree with that. So whenever I broke the rear arms on my car hitting the wall, someone asked me if I was just going to go a full rear grip kit. And I was like, why the fuck would I waste my money on that? That just sounds dumb.
Dude, even S-Chassis, most cars have a ton of available rear grip.
Yeah.
That you don't need drop knuckles or anything like that. The advice, I know it's long-winded, but the advice is keep it simple, but don't be afraid to build your car. Turbo your car, up the boost, make power. There's nothing wrong with that. Swap your car. There's nothing wrong with that. Because now we have it all figured out, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to swap, you have a ZN6 or 350Z, if you want to keep the VQ or the FA20, cool. But if you don't, then there's tons of aftermarket products to make a ton of power. You can have so much fun with 400 and 450 horsepower.
Exactly,
You typically,
dude.
unless you're competing, you don't need much more than that. But the overbuilding things, I think people infer that wrong is you just need a stock Miata or you just need a stock 350Z. You're not really gonna wow anybody if you do that. So my advice is, it's, again,
Start there.
Yeah,
if you
like
need
start
to.
there for sure to learn the car, but it's okay to turbo your car. It's okay
Yeah.
to have a fucking ripper.
Yeah.
Like that's what blows people's minds, and that's what makes you be able to place the car where you want it. You're not going to be able to like do the sick faint entry with rapid transition and come in like damn near
Yeah,
backwards.
with a buck 80 horsepower, like
Yeah, exactly.
not possible.
Yeah, like you would do it, but then you'd park it. Like
Yeah.
if you keep filming, you'll go whoa, and then you'll straighten out. But to be able to like power through and all that, like don't be afraid to build it a little bit.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
grip, I would think, so to me, I would not necessarily, depending on what your budget is, I wouldn't even build my own car to go grip driving. This is going to sound like a plug for Champ Car, but it's not. But Champ Car, there's so many teams there that you could find someone, pay them, like $1,000, maybe $1,500, and buy a seat in that car, essentially meaning you could go race with them.
Yeah.
And you'll get more, and you go to their driver school, listen to your team, take the advice of those guys. Like if they've got a coach there, listen to him, just absorb all that information. You will learn more about grip driving and turn more laps in a Champ Car race than any track day that you're going to do. And the barrier to entry is like, find a team, and there you go to the Champ Car forums and do that. And that's like kind of what we're doing. We're building a car for Champ Car so we can invite our guys over. We're going to put data acquisition in the car and go, hey, I'll turn a lap and show them, here's my brake pressure, here's where I turn in, here's steering angle, throttle position, all that stuff. So I think if you want to get into grip driving, doing track days is okay, but because you're new, they're going to provide you with an instructor, and he can only teach you up to his skill set, and he's going to teach you, and I'm not shitting on all these track day guys, but it's going to sound like it. He can only teach you up to where he's at, and a lot of these
He
guys
also teaches you the safest line.
yeah, they'll teach you like a safe line, try to get you around the track and stuff. But especially because I feel like who I'm speaking to right now is drifters considering going to the track, right? I'm not speaking to guys who are like, oh, I think I'm going to go to the track for the first time. Yeah. So for the drifters who, like we talked about earlier, they have car control skill.
Yeah.
I would advise them to find somebody in Champ Car and go straight there. Go straight to racing, because you're gonna, no matter who you are, you could be Von Gittin, and if you go do a Chin track day, he's probably going to put you in like the intermediate group, right? Probably shouldn't have said his name. So, well, anyways, you go to one of these track day groups, right? And even if you're Von Gittin, they may make you run intermediate until you get a check ride. And it's like, so that's what I'm saying is like,
The progression is slow.
yeah, the progression's slower. Okay. Just go straight racing, man. You'll have more fun. You have to strap in and do an hour and a half to 2 hours of being on track, like as soon as you go. Just dive in and go. And you guys got good car control skill. You didn't, like, you're going to know what you're doing. Just be patient, right? Like, you don't have to win the race that first lap, but go do something like that, and don't even mess around with some of the other stuff.
It's good advice. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who wanted to get into track stuff, it's so much.
It's becoming big now.
Yeah.
So.
Cheaper barrier of entry.
Well, the racing is more fun than a track day because it really will test you mentally, because I mean, you have to strap in. Most guys haven't driven a car at 10 tenths for 2 hours in a row. It's like takes a lot of mental, strength to do that. But the track day stuff, you ease into it too much, and you got an instructor. And I will say there's a difference between like an instructor and a coach. Like, I coached professionally, so what I tell you is going to be completely different than what the instructor from a track day group is going to tell you, because they have a bunch of track day experience, but they don't have race experience. They don't have quite the experience, and have driven all these types of cars. I mean, I've driven from Miatas to actual GT3 cars and 992 GT3 Cup cars, GT4 cars, like all these 800 and 900 horsepower sequential big aero cars. So that, with all that experience, it's just, you bring something different to the table. So that's like with our stuff, we're wanting to get these guys that want to go racing, like we said, like Vin and some other guys that we'll talk about, and bring them into that, so they just go racing immediately, which Vin started racing in SRO. It's a whole other subject. I know we're trying to close it up here. But so yeah, that would be my advice. Just find somebody in Champ Car. You don't have to have a racing license. You don't have to have ever done any sort of like track days. go to their driver school, which is required, find a team, listen to those guys, and just go racing immediately.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. That's good advice,
Yeah.
I'd say. 'Cause I didn't know any of that shit.
Yeah.
And then last one can be short and sweet. It's a little deeper, but if you had the opportunity to speak to the entire world, what would your one message be?
Oh my God.
Shit. Short and sweet. My God.
I said it can be short and sweet.
Can be short.
You said it can be or it
Yeah.
should be? The whole world. This is a tough one. I didn't expect that.
Damn, yeah.
I'm gonna start crying.
Nobody ever watches the very last little bit of the podcast. Well, at least some people do. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like most people, business owners, they don't have time to watch a full podcast.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they get tripped out whenever I ask them that.
I got one. It's easy. Ask more questions.
That's it.
Ask more questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely it.
I mean, because that applies to everything. If somebody has like a political view that you don't agree with, ask them more questions. And if you're doing your own research on, say, political, and I'm saying this because there's an election tomorrow, ask more questions. So when somebody says, hey, this person's bad, how is he bad? And then you start Googling and you ask more questions. Same thing with learning anything. You can't get better at drifting or road racing or anything without asking more questions. What's a better line to run? When am I braking? Am I doing this wrong? Like,
Yeah.
that's just ask more questions.
Yeah, I guess my advice, because it's going to apply to it's going to apply to racing, I guess, would be, be humble enough to learn, right? And actually, scratch that. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone's so scared across the board. They're so scared to make a mistake and of what people will think. And dude, don't give a shit. Like, don't be a bad person. Be a good person. But don't care what people think of you, because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The only person that you need to compare yourself to is who, you were yesterday, because no one else has got the exact same, the metric doesn't make sense to compare it. So it's just, don't be afraid to make mistakes and go for things sometimes, and make the mistake and learn.
Absolutely.
Between those two things, you'd be set.
Hell yeah. All right, well, that's all I got for this
Yeah, man.
one. So you want to plug yourself or anybody, the company,
you go
anything
first.
like that?
Yeah, I'm Brian Leonard, VP of Chase Bays. I don't really know what to plug. You can follow me on Instagram at Brian_Leonard_racing. Watch all of our YouTube stuff for next year. We're going to do some cool things. We got cool products coming out, so check those out as well. This is Chase. He is the owner of Chase Bays.
Yeah. My socials are just Chase McMaster. I'm mostly active on Instagram, and I guess TikTok is _ Chase McMaster or something. But yeah, Chase Bays posts a lot of stuff like products and engineering and stuff. I typically post more of our builds and driving content. So at Chase McMaster, and I try to give some knowledge here and there, usually on my stories. So it's kind of a decent follow, I guess. That's kind of how we both are.
Yeah.
Follow me or don't.
Perfect.
Hell
yeah. It's
Oh, and
always in the description. You always know where to find it. But yeah, that's all we got. So of course, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you're always updated. Links to everything, again, are in the description. We'll see you each and every Sunday for a brand new episode. Thanks. Peace.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so much for having us, man. This was fun.
awesome.
Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want 4, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money, if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want 4, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber.